Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for February 16th, 2021. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, at this time, if Pastor Nate Ellerton from Compelled Church could open us up in prayer, I'd appreciate it.
Thanks. Honored to pray for you all. Thank you, Lord, for leaders, and thank you, Lord, for the gift of leadership. We know in Romans 12 that the gift of leadership is given, and once we have it, we are to steward that diligently. I pray tonight as our community leaders gather together, the best interests of the community and each other, with operation, they would have a spirit of working together in unity for the greater good. Just bless them, Lord, for their time and their energies. Bless them, Lord, for the criticisms they take for leading, because that comes with leadership. And I pray, Lord, you just give them grace tonight. And thank you for their lives, and thank you for their leadership. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
My honor.
Okay, item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. No changes. I look for a motion.
Motion to approve agenda as submitted.
Support.
Or as presented.
Motion by Mr. Montry, supported by Mr. Gore. Any discussion? Somebody's giving quite a bit of background feed. Not sure who it is. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Perrone?
Aye. The motion passed 7-0. Item 3 is the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to A, approve and place on file the minutes of the February 2nd, 2021 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, accept and place on file the general, savings, pool funds, and CD reports from the treasurer. C, approve and place on file the revenue, expense report, and balance sheet for the period ending January 31st, 2021. I look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Support. Okay, motioned by Mr. Steiner, supported by Ms. Janzek. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Perrone?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Up next is the presentation of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. We're gonna push that at the moment until Chief Deputy Paul can be on, unless he is on. I don't think he is at the moment. I think he's on his other. Okay, well, we'll keep moving on to public comment, and if he does come on, we'll postpone public comment. So we want to take his time into consideration. So up next is public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items only. So if you have a comment or something to say about a board agenda item, now's the time to call in, and we're behind about 30 seconds. So we'll go ahead and wait for that. Okay, I have a caller coming up, looks like. Good evening. Go ahead with your name and address and your reason for the call.
Yeah, hi, Eric Sitter, 6948 Deer Ridge Drive, Temperance, Michigan.
Good evening. Go ahead with your comment. You get 5 minutes.
Yeah, hi. I'm calling on behalf of restaurants in Bedford Township, changing the amplified sound allowed on patios. Currently, you're not allowed to have any speakers or any music on patios unless it's live, I believe. And obviously, with COVID and the things that have happened, restaurants are looking to, I think patrons are going to be looking to eat outdoors more than ever. So I think it would be a good thing for the township to allow the restaurants to have, obviously there'd be some rules and some, decibel level rules and maybe curfews for music patios, things of that nature, but I'm looking to try to get that changed. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay, well, thank you so much for calling in, and we appreciate your comments, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, next caller. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and your comment.
This is Lamar Frederick, 3254 Deer Creek Drive. I'm commenting on just what the previous caller called, and that is this noise ordinance amendment that you're talking about. I think that's a pretty slippery slope that you're going to start. If you are indeed going to do that, I would recommend that you not do that. But there are a whole host of issues that this board should look into, study, and debate before you even decide to go down this path. Number one, what kind of facility are you going to permit outdoor music? And when I say what kind of facility, is it going to be in a parking lot? Is it going to be in a patio? Will the patio be screened? How are you going to go forward? And you got to put these rules and regulations in place before you go down this path, because people have to know what kind of facility they have to present in order to get this permit. Will this new opportunity that you're talking about be for a month? Will it be for every Saturday and every Sunday night? Will this be for all summer? How do you intend to put this in place? Because if you're talking all summer, then that's one thing. If you're talking a month, if you're talking every Saturday, every Sunday, whatever, I think you need to understand how you're going to go forward with that issue. Who's going to enforce this? The ordinance department said, well, we don't work on Saturday and Sunday. We're not going to be around at 10 o'clock at night when the complaints come in. So the sheriff department's going to say, wait a minute, you people issued the permit. Unless there's a riot going on, they're not going to do anything. So who's going to be responsible for enforcing this amendment? And I view this as saying further that if a permit is going to be issued, the whole board has to hear and see what the facility is like and what they plan to do, and that this should be a full board decision, not just the supervisor. Next, who's going to do all this measuring? The ordinance says that the noise, sound, music shall be limited in volume, etc., so that the sound shall not be audible 200 feet from the location of the speaker, loudspeaker, or sound-emitting device. So who's going to measure that? The ordinance department's not going to be on duty. Are you going to do that? Somebody from the board going to be responsible? Mr. Gore's worked at night in the past. I don't think he wants to do that anymore. So I guess the whole story is, what if there's a lot of issues here that need to be looked at long before you put this thing into effect. Measuring the sound levels. Do we even have the equipment to do that? We used to. We had it at one time, a long time ago. And you have to be certified on how to use it, because the equipment has to be calibrated on a regular basis. And if it's not calibrated, you don't know what you're measuring. So you issue a citation. the first thing that happens is the lawyer representing the receiver of the citation says, show me your data. And if you don't have data to show and substantiate your citation, you lose. Further, if you issue the thing at a monthly, that is, you're permitted on a monthly basis, at the end of the month, if you have a number of citations, then at that time you say, you don't get any more. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done by the board and maybe a subcommittee of the board to put the rules and regulations in place before you even start down this path. I think it's a dangerous slope. I can understand why the restaurants would like to have this, because it gives them an opportunity to have something of value for their clients, and I understand that. But I think this is the wrong way to go. You already have an opportunity under the current ordinance to issue a permit if somebody wants to have a special program, and that's something that's already in place. They already know what the rules are. That's my thought. Anyhow, have a pleasant evening. Bye.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. I'm calling regarding some of the issues under number 8. On 8D, my take is the fire chief isn't a 3-year-old and really shouldn't require a permission for each move that he makes. The department does have their own chain of command. However, if what we have in the packet is the policy, then we need to move on and abide by it. 8E, I agree on the 3 quotes, and I believe the clerk should be the person to whom the quotes come into, not hidden off under a deputy or somebody of that nature. It needs to go to the clerk so that it can be kept and monitored. 8F, kudos to Rick. This is definitely needed, but how about including under 4.2 that there be a checkbox and a signature or initial indicating that they did indeed receive that information? And how about if we include what steps to take if you require a change in the guidelines or removing a committee in its entirety? As far as 8G, should not be changed in the noise ordinance. We've got a history of residents having problems as it is with different things. We've had several of them come under issues, concerns with noise from festivals and etc. We can't enforce what's already on the books now unless you're a rooster. So you're basically going to be opening a Pandora's box in this whole thing, and it's just something that should not just be, yes, we're going to do it and go forward. 8H, I could see getting public notices directly on the township website. That would be an asset. I understand why planning issues cannot be made public at the time, but as far as using Facebook, there are too much conflicting information. We have actual Facebook pages that are putting out blatant false information. They're being used for political gain, and the names of the pages give a sense that it's actually official when it isn't. So there's an awful lot of confusion in that aspect. So if we're going to do this, then let's just put the public notices onto the township site. Maybe Trudy could get her communications committee to oversee that and help her with that. But as far as using Facebook, absolutely not. This has become a complete disgrace. Some of these pages are just horrendously full of lies and malcontent and slander and libel and just a bunch of false information. So that's it. I'm going to sit back and watch the meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead and give your comment.
Hi, this is Gene Stock, 8322 Twin Creek Circle. I wanted to comment on item 8H. I know you're bringing up improving communication concerning the public notices, and I know at the present time I had contacted you once before and had mentioned it's only in the newspaper now, and currently most people don't even get the newspaper anymore. It'd be nice if at a minimum you just got this information on the township website And I know if the township had an official Facebook page where information could be put on, that would be a big help. I mean, social media is the way that people are getting their information now. And if we limited that information to just an official township page, other departments could also post on there. It also would be nice in that second part documents on the planning and zoning meeting agendas. I know it would be nice to see some drawings or details of what's being discussed. Good examples are the last couple of meetings. I know planning had a couple of sign waivers, and it would have been nice to see a drawing or a map where these signs are located, so people, if they wanted to comment ahead of time, they could comment on those. They'd know what they're talking about. I know callers have called in and asked questions, but they didn't have the information in front of them. I know on the last zoning meeting was the same way. There was a public hearing on a piece of property. It would have been nice to have a drawing at a minimum just to see where that is located. Also, there was an appeal in a public hearing on involving Mulch King. And I know there was a lot of discussion of that property, but it's still, I'm not saying we have to put all the information out there from the packets, because I know from talking to planning and zoning members, you get quite a major information that would be out there. And then on a closing note, I want to compliment the township and Paul Peroni or whoever's responsible for taking care of our roads. We not only have the best roads in Monroe County, but we have the best plowed roads in Monroe County. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, my name's Jerry Goodrich. I live at Post Office Box 103, Lambertville. One of the things on the agenda, as far as we have a fire chief doing a great job, what does Mr. Bruning think he can do better when he was separated from the fire department back in 2013? Bedford Township pays the fire chief for the duties in which Mr. Bruning wants to be involved in. And I, being a member of the fire commission, and also to my knowledge yet, Mrs. Janasek is still the liaison to the fire department. So hopefully it'll be explained better so I understand what the reason is behind it. Thanks for the time.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Okay. If she's calling for the library, just sit tight. I think you got a little ways to go.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can. Yep. You're a couple items away. So, is Chief Deputy Pauly back on yet, or no? We're ready to talk to him. Does he want me to? Is that him?
He might still be talking with Monroe Township.
Okay. Okay. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
My name is Josh. I live at 7948 Wiseman.
Okay, go ahead with your comment.
About snow plowing. Why is my street not really get plowed much? I mean, it usually takes days to my street to actually end up getting cleared, or there's still ice on my street.
Okay.
Hello,
All right.
am I
Is that
there?
your comment? Okay, this is just public comment time. You just go ahead and give your comments, and then we can address them in board comments later on in the meeting.
Yeah, mine's snow plowing. I'm just wondering why my street / neighborhood doesn't really get plowed or salted.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate you calling in, and have a great night.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving on to unfinished business, appointment to the Planning Commission. I am extremely excited about this appointment. I'm recommending to the board to appoint William Mike Keene to the Planning Commission for a first term ending 12/31/23. It should be noted that Mr. Keene's application should have been included with all the applicants who applied for the planning. He applied on June 27, 2019, and his application is still valid. I'm not sure what happened there, if it just kind of got lost in the shuffle, but here it is. Mr. Keene is a Bedford High School graduate, a United States Navy veteran, and longtime resident of the Bedford Township. His extensive experience in general contracting with Rudolph Livy of over 26 years in site selection, development, and construction management makes Mr. Keene well qualified to be a member of the Planning Commission. Mr. Keene is well versed on properties in Bedford since he has worked on many projects in Bedford Township and he knows the township. In addition, Mr. Keene assisted on the committee to develop Bedford Township's own capital improvement plan. Mr. Keene brings a wealth of knowledge on capital planning and administration of such plans. Mr. Keene is more than qualified to serve on this commission and would be considered an honor for him to serve in the committee. So I think he brings everything that this board is looking for: capital improvement experience, connections with Rudolph Libby, who actually this board considered on administering the whole capital improvement for us, but we opted out due to expenses. He brings knowledge in construction. He's not affiliated with local builders, so there won't be any conflicts of interest. So I strongly recommend that this board move forward on this well-qualified candidate. So I would like to make a motion that we approve the appointment of William Mike Keene to the Planning Commission for the first term ending 12/31/23.
Support.
Okay, any discussion from board members?
Yes, the
Mr.
only
Montroy?
the only thing I have was just, I feel like it's very similar to Barry, and I feel like that was we discussed having Barry on, I want to say, Lewis Avenue redevelopment. I feel like you're getting someone that we considered, I guess, technically or whatever, that we were going to be paying a lot of money for, to be able to have him on this board. I think, and his experience, I think, is definitely a benefit.
Okay. Ms. Hirschberger?
First off, I just want to say that his application was not included because he's currently appointed to the CIP. And when you get appointed to a board, your application is taken out of the applications for appointment and put into the personnel file. So therefore, it wasn't in the applications. And we have quite a few of them like that applied for planning, but they're already appointed to a board, so their application would not be considered. I worked on the CIP, and he's a good guy, but I'm still back on Tom Covrette, why he hasn't been considered, and some of the other applications that have been in here for a while and no one's considered them. They haven't even been brought to the table.
Well, as far as the capital improvement plan, it was noted from Ms. Tinneberry 8 months ago that we should disband this committee because they're inactive. You couldn't even find the committee on the website. We had to search and find it and ask Angie to get it for us, but they don't meet. They're inactive. The people's names that are on it, such as Paul Francis still, Nancy Tinneberry still, are no longer board members. there's no plans of them meeting because the planning commission is taken over. They did their job, so I'm not sure why the board hasn't disbanded the committee because they're no longer needed at this time or 8 months ago, but it's just been one of them things that the board just hasn't done. So I don't consider Mike being on a board personally, because the board's, in my opinion, it's not technically inactive, but the board is not meeting. Did you chair that committee, Mr. Sperger?
I didn't chair it. I was on it. I was the liaison to it.
How long ago did you guys meet?
Well, there's a lot of boards and commissions that haven't met due to COVID, but this, the CIP couldn't meet until something went forward with the planning and the township board. Now that there's a plan moving forward, I don't know if the planning commission will want to come back and use the CIP for anything or not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I disagree with that, but I don't think at this point in time the CIP committee is needed, but like Mr. Montroy said, we have well-qualified people to do a job. And like Mr. Bushman was put on a second committee. I think this is one of those circumstances to where you have somebody extremely qualified and good at a job,
But it didn't answer my question of why other applicants that have applied a while ago haven't even been brought to the table.
Oh, I've brought many to the table. I brought actually 4.
There's still 3 that we haven't even talked about.
Well, I mean, I'm bringing well-qualified candidates to this board. That's my job.
But not ones that applied.
Well, I mean, people apply. You guys have to remember, just a short year ago, this board was begging to get people to apply. So we have an abundance of applications and people applying for whatever reason, I don't know, but this is a big change for this, board. Mr. Gore, he's been waiting.
That's all right. Take your time.
No, go ahead.
Well, so a couple things, like Mr. Montre said, we have a lot of well-qualified candidates, and Mr. Covret is an extremely well-qualified candidate that was recommended by the outgoing person on the planning commission, by Mr. Jenkins. So that holds a lot of weight with me also. I don't know why we're not looking at Mr. Covret. The last couple of meetings, there's been a lot of stuff placed back on the board, going back to the snowplow issue. What direction does the board want to go? What direction does the board want to go? Going back to the assessor. Once she resigned, now it's like, what direction does the board want to go? What direction does the board want to go? But all of a sudden with the planning commission, it's not asked what direction the board wants to go. The board is showing you or telling you what direction they want to go with. And Mr. Covert is a very well qualified candidate with experience and recommended by Mr. Jenkins.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate Mr. Jenkins' opinion, but it is the statutory duty, one of the few that the supervisor has. So I appreciate, everybody giving your opinions and stuff, but it's my job to bring you a well-qualified candidate. And it's your job to approve. So, Mr. Montroy?
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially like for this specific appointment. Like to your point, Joe, I agree. Like, and that's why it's been presented in that way, except for this position. This position is an exception. It's not the same as these other positions. It's a statutory responsibility of the supervisor to make this appointment. It's not now the board has to approve it, but it's not, that's why I think it's inappropriate. The purpose of the approval for this position is the supervisor makes the appointment and you have the board is a check on that to, in the event that the supervisor was bringing an individual that was completely unacceptable to the board and the board is saying no to that individual for whatever reason, not for the board to say you need to pick who I'm telling you to pick. there's the approval, and that's why I think it isn't the direction of the board, or this situation is a statutory duty of the supervisor to appoint, and there's a lot of situations like that throughout government where it's a person's, like Supreme Court justices. The president makes those appointments. They still have to be confirmed, but it's not, Congress doesn't tell the president, you have to appoint our person. It's not how it works. And I think, like I said, there's a lot of situations like that, and this is a exception to these situations, and I would say that that's why it is.
Okay, any more discussion? You have to keep in mind too, I mean, this is new. Before this board's come on, in the 4 years of me appointing board members, every single year, and Mr. Steiner and Ms. Hirschberger were part of that, not one balk other than Ms. Tinneberry for a library advisory board member when she wanted Ms. Steinman. They've never denied or questioned really the appointments. So this is new, and I'm not sure why, because they're well qualified candidates. And the planning commission board is doing very well. They're making very unbiased decisions on a regular basis, including the BZA. You know, I mean, so. Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Just a second.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Gordon.
So this is the first we've seen of this gentleman's application after 4 or 5 meetings. Mm-hmm. Knowing that he hasn't been on there a few meetings ago, you could have said, hey, why is he not on the packet? Let's get him on this packet. And we're not there. Then all of a sudden, now he shows up on a packet. I understand that he was on a previous board that may or may not be disbanded, but maybe he should have been thrown in the mix 3 or 4 meetings ago.
Yeah, we just found his application. And quite frankly, I think all the applications that people have applied serving on a board or not, because it's the board's decision whether or not we should appoint somebody. And I don't think it's the clerk's decision to file somebody into personnel because they're already sitting on a board. It's not part of the policy. Where does it say in the policy that it's if somebody's appointed to the board, they're shelved in the personnel file?
I'd like to
Phil,
see.
do you want to touch on that?
Go ahead, Trudy.
I just wanted to know if Phil wanted to chime in.
Well, I think you put it in your memo, Trudy, that is a requirement of state law that the application, once they're occupying a certain position, goes in their personnel file. That's why it's done. That's why it's done. But while I'm on
yeah,
that,
they can still be considered though, right, Mr. Goldsmith?
It can still be considered.
They can still be considered, so this board should see the applications. They should still be considered. It doesn't mean they get filed and hidden until they're not serving again. Yeah, that's not the point of it.
Yeah, they're not hidden. They're filed pursuant to state law. But
we had to stumble upon Mike Keynes.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I'd like to know who else has applied for planning if they're filed. I asked for all people that applied for planning.
Okay, well, let's go back to this, and I want to bring the board back to the state law because there's been some discussion about this tonight, and I'm going to read the applicable language from the Planning Enabling Act, which applies to this particular appointment. It states, in a municipality, which under this law is defined as a township is defined as a municipality. The chief elected official, which under this law, the chief elected official is defined as the township supervisor, shall appoint members of the planning commission subject to approval by a majority vote of the members of the legislative body elected serving. So the supervisor makes the appointment. It comes before the board for approval. The board can decline to approve, and it has in the past. But that's the function of the supervisor with respect to planning commission members to make the appointment. Then it has to be approved by a majority of all of you who are appointed and serving. So that's the protocol that has to be followed under the state law. It's not that way for every, I'll give you an example. For the Board of Zoning Appeals, it's not that way. For the Board of Zoning Appeals, it is a board appointment. So somebody makes a motion, somebody seconds the motion, and then a roll call vote is taken after discussion, and the appointment is either made or not made. So this protocol has to be followed by state law. And so until the supervisor will have to continue to make appointments until the board approves one of those appointments. So,
And I just want to remind this board, Mr. Steiner, who did you recommend to me a couple of months ago for planning?
You mean the very first one?
Well, a couple of months ago when you recommended a member to me and I put him on the agenda for approval and we got him approved.
That was Matt.
That was Matt Vanasecker. Mr. Steiner recommended him to me and I put him on because I agreed with him. Fresh face, doesn't serve on a board, new to the community, getting involved. Tom Corvette, he served 2 terms. He's done the job. We have plenty of faces that are new, that want to get involved and serve, that have the experience, that have the knowledge, that everything you're asking for, Mike Keene has. But
Tom
still,
Brett is not on board right now, and he hasn't been since 2008.
I understand that, but he served on planning just, a short, 10 years ago or 12 years ago. And I mean, we have new people that, can serve on it. So, Mr. Steiner?
The one thing I will say, Mr. Jenkins' recommendation is not just Mr. Jenkins, former planning commission member, making a recommendation. Mr. Jenkins was the township planning administrator for 25 plus years, I believe it is. So that takes a lot of weight. It isn't just another planning commission member. It is someone that's been in that position. He's also worked with Tom back in those years in the early 2000s. And that's why he came very highly recommended by Mr. Jenkins.
Yep. Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Perrone,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes no. Mr. Bruning,
No.
Mr. Gore,
No.
Ms. Jandasek,
No.
Okay, and the motion failed. Did you vote, Ms. Hirschberger?
yes.
Okay, and the motion failed 5-2. Okay, moving on to new business. Unless Chief Deputy Bali's back yet, we'll keep pushing him. Just let me know when he's ready and we'll start the meeting for him.
Real quick, Mr. Supervisor, it's been brought up. So let's just talk about the question. Is there any reason why any of the other applicants are not being
Mr. Steiner, with all due respect, we're moved on to 8A. We're under vouchers for payment.
No, we
If you
didn't.
want to bring
No,
it
we
up in
didn't.
your public comments, then you can bring up your public comments. So we're just going to keep the meeting moving.
Okay, Mr. Perrone, I'm not going to play political games here.
No, I'm not either,
asked
but we
you-
got to keep the meeting moving. We had discussion. We talked about the agenda item. We're going to move on. You can talk about it in your public comments.
Okay, you caught me off guard at our very first meeting when I voted no. I asked for an explanation. I'm now asking you for an explanation, sir.
Okay, and I'll give it to you in my public comment. Okay, so we're going to move on to 8A, vouchers for payment. Ms. Hirschberger?
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $46,431.40. Fire District, $16,857.49. Park Fund, $779.90. Cemetery Operating Fund, $19.28. Fire Equipment, $10,294.95. Library Fund, $1,899.22. Downtown Development Authority, $496.22. Sewer O&M Fund, $169.03. Trust and Agency, $855, for a grand total of $77,802.49.
Support.
Okay, motion and supported by Ms. Januzak. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes yes. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
You're muted, Joe.
Sorry, I was taking some notes. Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Yes.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, moving on to 8B, approve the purchase and refurbishing of furnishings at the Bedford Branch Library. I believe we have a caller on for this. Is this somebody from the Library Advisory Board? Okay. Jody, are you going to be speaking on behalf of the Library Advisory Board?
I thought there were a couple of them that were going to be speaking as well, so I don't know if anybody else is on hold or not.
Okay. I don't believe so, but go ahead, take the wheel.
Okay. I just wanted to let you guys know I provided a lot of information in your packet. Hopefully it was enough information for you to be able to make an informed decision about the request tonight. Obviously, we're asking for some furnishings and some recovering of some furnishings that are already there in the building. I included in your packet information from the millage from 2018 just to kind of catch everybody up and let you know where we are with what we had, promised to the people who voted for the millage. And then there's a spreadsheet included, which is pages 48 through 51 of your packets, that shows you where we stand so far on all of those items. And so just to kind of keep you informed so far, for the items that we have finished doing, we are $6,700, a little more than $6,700 to the good that we have saved. And then I think we're going to be about another $5,000 ahead when we get done with the landscaping. In addition to that, we've got savings in the janitorial, operating supplies, and all of our utilities from this past year, just because everything's been different for everybody. So we did budget this year for the additional furnishings and for the recovering. The only thing that we did not budget for was the bench in the children's room, but it really makes more sense to do that recovering at the same time that we're doing the chairs that we asked for. So I think there's plenty of room for play in our budget. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I just want to say thank you for the thorough agenda item, and our township library is one of the biggest assets our community has. It's a major resource, and we have to maintain the property we own within it. And I think you guys are being frugal with refurbishing rather than buying all new. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody have any comments?
I don't have any more unless, okay.
You can stay on, Miss Ross, in case we have any more questions.
I'll just provide,
Okay.
highlight some information. And Jody, I think you're underestimating even. My count, we're 50 grand under budget on things done, and that includes the shelving that we got donated from Concordia, and the HVAC controls and lighting. That was about 24 grand under budget. We were a little bit over on our painting, but still we're at about 50 grand under budget on projects that are completed right now. And then the other thing I would kind of highlight is, which Jody mentioned, so for the reupholstery, for the benches and the pillow room, we have about $5 grand budgeted for that. Obviously, you can see the quotes that are presented here are a little bit above $5 grand, but if you look on, which would be page 1, 2, the front of page 3, for the information that Jody provided, you can see the landscaping. We have 10,000 we had budgeted, and at least our estimate right now, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, Jody, that were estimated. We're going to probably be about around $5,000 on that. So you have, that's that little bit of play, I believe, for this project.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay. So that's what I just wanted to make sure that the $5,000, that is about what we're going to be under budget on the landscaping, gives us that little bit of play for this reupholstery that we're looking at tonight. And like I said, and then on top of that, we're about $50,000 under budget for completed projects.
Okay, any more discussion or comments?
I have a question. So I actually missed this library advisory meeting. We had it moved around. I think when this came through, we was around Christmas time. Jody, would you speak to just the, I get a little bit of sticker shock on these chairs being like $80, $90 or whatever. Would you be able to like speak on that at all? Just that, like, just any, I guess, any justification for spending that kind of money on it, like, and not to put you on the spot at all, because I would follow that with, we already bought, I mean, we've already got those similar chairs that we paid, what, $112 for a chair, like, earlier last year, I think it was. So I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just, for information for the board.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, that furniture is from a place called the Library Store, which is definitely, it's a higher end quality style furniture. It's made for classroom settings. But the cost of the chairs, like I actually called, so the reason that we're asking for those for in the kids' round room is because we currently have those chairs in there that are wood backed, and they're beautiful chairs, don't get me wrong. But when a couple of those started cracking and we realized we would have to replace those, I contacted the place we got those from. It had cost us about $425 to fix a single one of those chairs. So that doesn't make any sense when you can buy new ones that should last for just as many years as these wood ones have for $85, $90. So that's kind of why, we're looking at that recommendation. In addition to that, the plastic's going to be easier for us to keep, in light of the changing world, the plastic's going to be easier for us to keep clean and wiped down, and it won't discolor. The wood has discolored somewhat with the disinfectants that we have to use. So at least we won't have that problem with the plastic.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's just because I just know, like, I'm apprehensive when I look at, geez, that's a lot of money for little plastic chairs, and that's why I would ask that. So thank you.
Any more discussion or comments? Sure. Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase and refurbishing of furnishings for the Bedford Branch Library.
Support.
Would you guys mind putting the cost in there in your motion?
Yeah, it's budgeted for $30,000 in the and it's in the capital improvement line item. Is that the 30,000 correct?
So I would do, if you're gonna like Jody's recommendation, and which I think was the Library Advisory Board's recommendation, was up to $8,000 in fabric work, and then I would say if for a friendly amendment or whatever, and then I would say the $1,007.40 for the chairs, if that would be appropriate.
I'm fine with the friendly amendment.
Mr. Gore, did you mention which company?
No, did you want that mentioned?
Absolutely.
I'm looking at my notes. Which company were they going with?
Al's Upholstery 7,000 and Hoffman Brothers is 6720.
You just put, can I just include that as a friendly amendment, Rick?
Yes.
Okay.
What's friendly amendment? Which company?
Right, just to to put in which company you're selecting.
Yeah, you didn't specifically say which company. You named two and then.
I'm just saying what's in the packet. I didn't make the motion, so I'm gonna let him decide what
Go
his
ahead,
motion
Mr.
is
Moore.
supposed to be.
You want to start over with a motion? I think we're getting a little.
Yeah, let me write it out here real quick unless somebody wants to jump in. You said Al's Upholstery for 1,007?
Their total is that it shows about 7,000 for Al's Upholstery, and Hoffman Brothers shows 6720.
Is anybody else prepared to make a motion?
Well, and I
With
think
that, I mean, we'll wait for you, but I'm just saying, if anybody else is, jump
If
in.
anybody wants to jump in, I've got a bunch of notes scribbled down.
so. I believe that the Library Advisory Board was recommending Al's Upholstery, which is a Toledo-based company, but the owners reside in Bedford residents. So I would say now do those need to be two separate motions though, Trudy, because they're separate companies?
Not necessarily, as long as they're separated out.
Okay.
So, for say Al's Upholstery in this amount.
Okay, so do 1,000 let's start with make a motion to approve the 12 additional chairs from the library store in the amount of $1,007.40 plus shipping, and then also to up to, let me see what it is, approve up to $8,000 in furniture fabric work from Al's Upholstery for the reupholstering in the round room. Close enough, I think.
Okay, we have a support of the motion.
Support.
Okay, any more discussion? Everybody okay with the motion? Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Yes.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik.
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni.
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0.
Thank you, Jody.
Hey, Jody,
Thank
while you're
you.
on, I think you have some good news for the public about the library reopening, if you'd like to touch on it real quick.
Sure, I do have good news, and it was supposed to happen today, but we got a snow day just like everybody else did. So beginning tomorrow, the library will reopen for people to come in the building. We're still doing the 1 hour appointments, and we have the limited capacity still, so we still will be like checking people in when they come in the door, just so we can make sure we don't get past any capacity. But yeah, starting tomorrow, 1 hour appointments. We're open 10 to 7 Wednesday, Thursday, and 10 to 4 Friday, Saturday. We'll take walk-ins, or you can call the library to make an appointment.
Okay, thank you so much, Jody. We appreciate all you do.
Okay.
Okay, going
Thank
back
you.
on the agenda.
All right.
To presentations. We have Chief Deputy Polly on. You want to go ahead with your presentation?
Yes, first off, thank you, and I apologize for the delay. The Monroe Township meeting took a little longer than I thought. Sheriff Goodenough, unfortunately, he's not able to make it tonight. He was supposed to have internet connection, but he was up north, and somebody in his party was involved in a crash. He is fine, but it became a little chaotic for him to be able to make this meeting. So I'm here on his behalf. So if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them, and if I can't, I'll certainly work to get you the answer. As you know, we are here, and I'm assuming everybody does have the PowerPoint presentation.
Should be in all the package. Yep.
Okay, so I won't bore you with reading word for word, but I will tell you that we are here. We do value our relationship with Bedford Township, and it's been over 45 years, and it is our intent to continue that great partnership and to be a great partner to you moving forward. It's no secret we're here to hopefully pitch our 12-hour model to you, and we're hopeful that you can consider this and possibly vote to accept that. To start, I want to go with our current staffing model. It's based on an 8-hour day. Our deputy will work 10 days out of 14, 80 hours of pay period for 2080 for the year. The schedule's kind of quirky, and I know Trustee Gore can speak to this. It's a 6 on, 2 off rotation. It is not very family friendly. You only get 2 weekends off. I believe I counted it out one year. I think you get about 13 off a year. That's really not great for family life. And this is one of the reasons why we would like to switch. But the bigger reason is more coverage. So our proposed staffing model is a 12-hour shift. The deputy would work 7 days out of 14 for 84 hours per pay period. That would mean that you would pay that deputy, instead of 2080 hours a year at straight time, you'd pay them at 2184. So you would get 104 hours per deputy at straight time. So that's one of our best selling features with this 12-hour model. The work-life benefit for the deputy would be every other weekend off. Again, they go from 13 weekends off a year to 20, whatever that math is, 26. So that's that work-life benefit for the deputy. If you want to go over to slide 5, proposed coverage. Bedford Township is highlighted in red. And this is how we plan to spread them out. Now, we will reserve the right to tweak if we have to, but this is our plan forward if we have a full staff. So you'll see the 10 deputies in red. You'll see Team A days, Team B days, and then you'll see our night shift. One of the things I want you to look at is these shifts will run 7A to 7P on day shift. And then if you look at entry number 10 and 23, you'll see that the Bedford deputy would work 11A to 11P. That's kind of our hybrid shift. We would work to implement those 2 deputies on day shift during those hours, because those would be peak hours. The majority of the people moving around Bedford Township happens during those hours. So that is why we'd want to have that deputy, covering that shift. Now, as long as nobody's off, you'll see that is, let's say nobody had vacation or sick. Those deputies, you would have 24 hours of coverage on this model. Obviously, as well as what I do, we have vacation, sick, and personal. But moving forward, you'll see that you will have 24 hours of coverage in this 12-hour shift model. There have been times in the past that we have ran without coverage in Bedford Township, and that we feel that's unacceptable. We want to fix that. Does anybody have any questions about the proposed coverage of the schedule?
I do. Jeff, so my printout has no red. You said Bedford is in red. Is that just 1 through 10 and then 14 through 23, or what is the Bedford?
Do you okay, I apologize. I assume that you were on the computer now. Do you actually have a printout?
Yeah.
We have printout.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Okay.
It's black and white, Paulie.
Black and white. All right. So red, you'll see down there 8, 9, and 10, 21, 22, 23, 32, 33, 41, 42. Those are the Bedford cars. That's what I meant. That's represented in red. I apologize. I thought you had the computer.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding it.
Okay. All right. Well, as you can see in this model, though, you'll see that you'll have basically 2 deputies. There are a total of 4 shifts: 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts. And how the schedule would work is a deputy would work Monday, Tuesday, would be off Wednesday, Thursday. Then he'd work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So basically Team A and Team B will switch. So when Team A's on, Team B's off. So if you can imagine the coverage, thinking it, in those terms, and you'll see like the Team A and the Team B under number 10 and number 23. Those are 11A to 11P cars. Those are the cars that cover, mostly day shift, but into the night up until about 11 p.m. So again, each deputy will work, moving along, each deputy will work an additional 104 hours per year at straight time effectively increasing boots on the street. I know that's a popular phrase, but it does in fact apply here. And in your case, you employ 10 deputies, so the math is 1,000. The 12-hour model would call for 21,840 hours for 12-hour shifts, and under the old model, 20,800 hours. Now the cost, that's the big thing. There is a cost.
Steiner, if you wanted to speak, you're muted.
Mr. Pauly, just a quick question.
Yes.
You said that the cars under 8, 9, 21, 22, 32, 33, and then 41 and 42. You mentioned those as 7A to 7Ps?
And then 7P to 7A. So on the day shift, you'll see Team A, Team B days. Those cars would be 7A to 7P. And then if you look over at the night column, Team A, Team B, those would be 7P to 7A.
Okay, I missed that portion. Thank you.
So moving on to cost, the current cost per deputy per quarter is a little over $29,000, $29,104. The new model cost per deputy per quarter is $30,298 for an increase of $1,194 per deputy per quarter. The anticipated total annual increase for 2021 is $35,820. That is based on 9 months. So that would be, starting, at the end of March. That's what that figure represents. Those are our numbers from our finance department. The anticipated increase for 2022 is $47,760. That's why you see such a huge difference, is because effectively this year you're not paying for, 3 months. So in order for this to work in 2021, you'll have to increase $35,820, and our anticipated total annual increase for 22 is $47,760. So again, we realize that it's a big decision to make. It is a cost, but we feel that having the extra hours at straight pay will provide consistent coverage within Bedford Township. The extended shifts will allow for more efficient scheduling of manpower, and the additional benefits. The 12-hour model creates additional visible police presence through increased coverage. It'll help reduce response times because you're having consistent coverage all the time. You're not having a shift change. You're going to go from really effectively 2 shift change per day versus 3, which that takes time, as Joe can attest. And I hate to keep using Joe, but by the time you come in off the road, you kind of decommission your car. The other person gets on the road, and they get the car ready to go. I mean, that takes time. And with a 12-hour shift, you won't have that. And probably one of the biggest things that we value with this 12-hour model is, I guess, the younger people coming into law enforcement now, they want 12 hours. They want that happy work-life balance. And this will allow for more days off a year. It will allow for consistent coverage within the township. And probably the biggest thing is recruiting and retention. We're finding right now we are losing people as of last week. We are losing people to departments that have 12-hour shifts. We're finding that our employees, they want that. They want the 12-hour shifts. They're already in the police suit. They're ready to go. Working an extra 4 hours a day, isn't that big of a deal. And one of the bigger things, like I said, you go from 13 weekends off a year, if you're lucky, to 26. That's a big deal. And for those that work 24-hour operations and 7 days a week, having your weekends off to be a normal person is a big thing. So, we feel, though, that the biggest benefit to the township, though, is the overall consistent coverage that this 12-hour shift will provide. I think you'll see more deputies. You'll have more hours within the township. It is our hope that you accept this proposal and vote yes on this tonight, if you wish.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you so much for this communication to the board. Just in a short couple of months, or a month, actually, a month and a half, what a night and day difference in communication on a regular basis and ideas that you guys are doing. I think the idea of the 12-hour shift is genius. We're getting more bang for our buck in this community. We're going to see more presence of the officers, and we'll have happier officers. And if we need to do one thing, it's treat our officers the best we could possibly treat them. And this is one way, obviously, to help out and give back, because they're calling for it. They want it. We don't want our people leaving. So I think it's a no-brainer. I love the proposal. I love what you guys have put together. And, unfortunately, our audit's not done. So we don't know exactly where we're at, but I can tell you as a past board member of, going on 9 years now of a trustee and supervisor, I know how much roughly we have in our rainy day fund, and we have plenty of money to cover something like this. And I think with the money that we cut in August or July, we're sitting pretty, so we've done the things we needed to do. And I think doing this just, is just a great idea. And I think with some of the things we're discussing with the DDA, with them wanting more coverage in the DDA, maybe it's something we could discuss with the DDA in partnership to where they get more hours in the downtown development area. So I think it's a good idea. Any other board members like to add anything or discuss it? Questions, comments?
Rick has his hand up.
Steiner?
And Mr. Pauly, I'm not going to hit you completely on the spot because I know you're not going to have the information I'm asking for. But as we are getting ready to go into our budget sessions in the very near future, one of the things that we've struggled with over the last couple of years is the cost increase for the benefit package. If you could get something back to us very soon, the next meeting at the latest, so we can understand what kind of increases we're going to take with that benefit package, because I know last year that number really caught us off guard. I mean, it's been going up over the past few years, like 3, I believe, but last year was almost unbelievable. And I know healthcare costs, they never go down, they always go up. But that number last year, it was a tough thing to swallow because, I just couldn't believe it. And they say an actuary study was done. And I don't want to say I distrust anybody, but those numbers just didn't make sense when you look at all their healthcare increases across the board.
I actually have, if you will, I do have it in front of me on my other computer. So if I'm looking away, I'm looking up on my other computer. It's popping up right now. The billable pay rate, the top billable pay rate for 2020, and this was based on the retiree healthcare. This was the 76% increase. It's astonishing. I get it. But in 2020, the billable pay rate was $98. That is for a top tier 1 deputy sheriff. Obviously, that I believe the contract calls for a mean of the deputy sheriff, but just to put it in perspective, the top deputy sheriff would earn 98. This is the billable overtime rate. This year, it did go down, and I don't have that figure in front of me, but I believe it is 80. I want to say it's $82. Please don't quote me, but as you can see, that's a sizable difference in a reduction to your benefit. I can't speak as to why, it's the actuary. I can't speak to why they increased so much in 2020, but I do know it is going down in 2021. And I think we provided a sample invoice to. Yeah,
we had that meeting last year when this all came about, and there is an increase, but it's nothing like it was last year. Nothing significant enough to where it's gonna, we're gonna have to lay off officers. I mean, it's something that's expected.
Yeah, you meant that as overtime though, but I'm talking about the overall benefit package with healthcare costs and everything.
I just highlighted that. I can actually pull the budget up if I have it with me. I hope I don't. I can get the information that you're looking for, Rick. If you want to get with me, I can present next week or in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I didn't want to put you on the spot. I expect you have an exact number right now, but if we could do something by the next meeting, that'd be great.
Sure. Okay, Mr. Bruning?
Yeah, I'd like to get some more definitive numbers also, Paulie, just so we know exactly where we are. Also on the budget, Paul, if so we know where we're at with our budget. And then also with the new patrol car that was just crashed, who has to pay for that one? Is that coming out of our budget, or are you guys paying for it? Because that's gonna be a cost.
That would be your budget. I believe your insurance provider. I'm not really sure exactly how that works.
We're gonna have to foot that bill, Paul. So I don't know how much our deductible is or what we have to pay on that, but brand new patrol car was just crashed, so we're gonna have to pay that one.
Okay.
Hey, if we get rid of the ordinance department, we can support this.
Well, put it on the next agenda, Todd. Put it on the next agenda if that's what you like. Mr. Gore?
For the Karens anyways.
Put it on the next agenda.
Jeff, appreciate it. You know, just as well as I do, 12-hour shifts has been kicked around probably since before you started and I started. A lot of guys want it, but the old school guys didn't want it. And the old schedule, it hurt. I mean, when you get Monday, Tuesday off, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, work 7 off for a weekend, there might be summers where I might only had 2 weekends off for the entire summer. So it would be beneficial in that way. Now, going to the costs, most of the deputies that are assigned down at the Bedford substation, is there a difference in breakdown in cost from tier 2 to tier 1? Because tier 2, they don't get a retirement and they don't get retiree health care. Are we being billed separately or differently for tier 2 versus tiered 1?
The way I understand the contract, and I guess I would lean on Phil for correction, is that all contracts are billed at a mean. So you take all the deputy sheriffs throughout the entire organization, and they come up with that, whatever that figure is. That's what each contract is billed. I mean, you know as well as I do, shift bids coming up in March. This whole lineup of people could change. I mean, it could flip back to, chance. I mean, we are getting younger, which is a blessing and maybe a curse at the same time. But it could switch.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can tell you the pay rate is the county is making people whole with tier 1, but the benefit package, which is probably the big driver of this, there is a difference. Yes.
So with the time constraints, Paula, you guys are wanting to roll this plan out ASAP, correct?
That is correct.
So Mr. Bruning brings up budget. I mean, we don't approve our next budget till June, so I mean, this isn't something you guys are really wanting to sit around on for 4 or 5 months. And as far as the audit goes, I mean, we can't really start the budget process until the audit's done. I don't know where we're at with that or when we're going to get an update on that from the audit firm or figure out when that's going to be completed. Is it going to be extended another month? Are we going to be done at the end of this month or where are we at? So, I mean, but like I said, anybody that's watched the meetings or sat on this old board knows financially this isn't something that we would have a problem funding at all. Ms. Hirschberger?
I just wanted to know, have all the other townships gone with this? And what happens if one doesn't? Not that I'm saying we wouldn't, but.
Right. Yes. As of today, Monroe, the reason I was delayed, Monroe Township was the last one, but you guys are the last on the list. But everybody is approved. Frenchtown approved earlier today. The resort, I think, the Resort Beach was last week. Now not everyone is going to 12s. I mean, our schools, we still got those. They're going to be 8 hours. When they come out of the schools, we anticipate them staying on 8-hour shifts. But it's the majority it's the roll patrol that we would like to move over to, which includes the contract, over to this 12-hour model. And our desire is really for consistent coverage with the big benefit of a work-life balance for our deputies.
It would have been nice, though, if some of these questions were asked to the clerk's department or the finance director before the meeting tonight, and we could have been able to make a decision. Not sure why we do that as a board. We have 5, 6, 7 days sometimes. Mr. Montre?
Well, I guess I'll start with addressing that then, just to voice that I'm not prepared to vote on this myself yet either. I wasn't expecting that this was something that was going to be urgent and that we were going to be looking to get a vote on. But I'll follow that with saying, on its face, I like everything about it. The anticipated annual increase, how it goes, I understand like why the spread to 22. After that, does that stay flat, or is there still some sort of exponential increase in that total anticipated cost as that grows?
There would, I don't have the figure in front of me, unfortunately, but there would be an increase. I mean, I can tell you right now that the wage package that's being considered across the county, we had a wage study. And what the wage study found is that we were underpaid to our comparables. And comparables are counties of like size, like infrastructure and that kind of thing. So there will be an increase. I would be guessing if I told you how much, but I would think it would be along the lines of maybe a 1.5% increase. But again, I'm purely speculating.
No, that's fine. Like that was one of my initial questions. Because I was like, well, what's it going to go up 12 grand every year but I understand the 9 month versus the 12 months. So that makes sense. Is this something that is successful in other places? That this is something that in other areas is like a fantastic program, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I can tell you that actually I was in contract talks today with the union representative for the deputies. And the representative for the POEM, Police Officer Association of Michigan, he actually said it has been his experience that every single department that has been on 12s or goes to 12s has never gone back. And that is a lot of people have some apprehensions, like Trustee Gore had talked about, but they have not gone back on a 12-hour shift model. And I think it's beneficial to both not only the deputy or the officer, but also the municipality or in this case, the township. And again, our goal is to have consistent coverage every single day of the week. We don't want to have four cars on one day and one car on the next day. We want to have, 2 to 3, cars every single shift, every 12 hours. So that's our goal.
Yeah. Like I said, on its face, I love everything about it. I'm all for it. I would want to I want to put more time into the actual numbers before I give a thumbs up on it. But that's all I have. So thank you so much.
Sorry about that, Craig. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Mr. Steiner?
Go ahead.
Well, Todd's up. He never took it down. So, Mr. Gore, not sure if he needs to
Thanks,
talk.
Rick. I thought you were up before me. Jeff, I know our corrections officers, they went to 12s how many years ago, and they haven't looked back yet, like you were talking about?
No, they like it. And in fact, I actually talked to the city police because it is a little bit, as you know, it's a little bit different working in a jail setting because it's, it's a more controlled environment. I know it sounds crazy, but the city police, I've talked to many members there, and they work 6 to 6, and they love it. For as many hours as you're working in a single day, you have then 2 days off the next time. I mean, it's, versus working that 6 days in a row, which Joe, that drags people down.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bruning?
Yeah, I have another question for Paulie. Do you have to have an answer tonight, or would you be okay waiting so we can get more information on this? Like, what time frame do we have?
I mean, in a perfect, I'm not gonna lie, in a perfect world, we would love to have an answer tonight. If there is such a delay, though, for whatever reason, we certainly respect that. We'll make it work. But we're coming up on shift bids where we have contractually, we have to, give so much time in order to conduct a shift bid. Can we make it work? Absolutely. In a perfect world, we'd love to have a yes, no here, but if we've got to figure it out, it's just going to be more work, but we can make it work.
Okay. All right. Well, I am prepared tonight, and I would like to make a motion that we move forward through 2021 fiscal year at $35,820.30 to move to the 12-hour shift model that the Sheriff's Department is proposing.
Support
The rest of the fiscal year, the $35K, correct?
Yes. But,
That's what you need now, but the annual is 47,760.04.
yes, I probably should have said this, Paul, and I apologize for interrupting you. This is still a trial basis.
Mhm.
The county gave us the okay tonight. We have the money in our budget internally to cover the rest of 2021 for the county, the sheriff's office budget. So this isn't a absolute guarantee. I would expect that we'll have results and we'll have the a presentation for the Board of Commissioners, probably in a few months, 3, 4, 5 months, and we can revisit this. So I guess this isn't a long.
So do I need to put amount? Do I need to put an amount in the motion?
I mean, for 2021, it's going to be 35, whatever that figure was.
Yeah, so, and then when we do the next budget year, we can do that. Is that correct, Mr. Goldsmith? Is that the good way to word it? Just the amount right now for the 35, 8, 20, 30?
The next budget cycle, you can approve the amount for 2022.
Yeah, and I think,
And after you get a
when
report
we get
back,
the new budget year rolling. Yeah. Okay, so that'll be my motion, and I think, if you want the best, you gotta pay for it. We're gonna have some increases. It's the cost in the long haul, more than likely aren't going down unless they cut out lifetime health care for the retirees, and I don't see that happening. So they're gonna go up, and hopefully, we continue with the great communication that we have tonight, and we just keep moving forward. So we have a motion and supported by Mr. Gore. Any discussion?
Just real quick, Paul, a lot of lifetime healthcare for retirees has been cut out for our two-tiered employees.
I know that, but I'm saying you right now, an actual retiree getting the benefit, unless they take that away, your costs aren't going to go away.
Correct.
Until all those, not being rude, but until all the retirees are gone,
I'm not ready to go yet.
Sorry, no. Mr. Steiner, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was trying to let some of the discussion go through, and I was actually going to make a similar motion, but I do want to clarify, and one of the things I want to ask Mr. Pauly, just to be sure. The 2021 increase of 35,820, and then you've got the 2022. Is the 47,700 on top of the 35,820, or is that what the total number will be as compared to where we're at today as of 2020?
The 47 will be the whole next fiscal year.
Yeah, it would, I understand what you're saying. It would not be on top of 2021. That 47,000 would be on top of 2020.
Right. I just wanted to clarify, that's the way I thought you said it, but I wanted to be sure that was very clear in here. Like I said, because that was one of the last questions I had before I was going to make a motion as well.
Okay, well, I made the motion. We got to support, and do we have any more discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Janzisek,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
And the motion passed 7-0. Thank you so much, Pauly. We appreciate you being on, and we look forward to the new model. I think it's going to work great.
Thank you, board. I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to 8C, approve the Monroe County Road Commission contract for dust control. Okay, you have before you a contract with a probable cost of around $40,530. This is 2 applications, 16-foot wide solid, 2,000 gallons per mile. The first application is in June, second application after Labor Day. It's calcium chloride. It's an estimated 57,500 gallons. Calcium chloride is a little bit of an upgrade from what was used in prior years. But this, and I'm not sure if everybody knows, this is a health hazard when you don't put dust control on these roads. For the people that do live on a dirt road, you can agree with me that when there's no dust control on them, your cars are dusty, your houses are dusty, and breathing it is a health hazard. So I think it's a no-brainer, for this board to move on. It's something we've done for a long time. And I've asked the question too, is why, I have asked this question, is why this board maintains dirt roads, but they don't maintain paved roads? Or why, you know what I mean? So that has been a question, but it always comes back to, it's a health hazard. It's not a health hazard. I mean, it could be a health hazard to let a paved road go with potholes, but this is something that affects people's livelihood. So, Mr. Steiner, do you have a question? Okay, your hand's up. Okay, anybody have any discussion? I'll make the motion. We approve the dust control contract for $40,530.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Bruning. Discussion? See none, could you call a roll? Oh,
I got
discussion, Mr. Montre?
Do we not have, like, is that always like that, where where there's no specification on roads?
It's all dirt roads in our community.
Okay.
I mean, so you're talking half mile, Vienna Road, all the roads by Silent. There's quite a few dirt roads in our community. We don't realize it. They're tucked away. There's still some neighborhoods that have dirt roads.
No, I know that. I thought I remembered a specific one like this for Minks, and then I didn't. Is there a separate specific one just for Minks like this?
No, I believe that was for Stone, to partner in Stone to rebuild that road. That was with Erie Township. We partnered.
No, I know that. I thought that there was a calcium chloride specific for Minks. But maybe
they share
the question.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think
so. It's always just like this. Okay, that's cool. That's the question.
Okay. Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Yes.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Montre?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Okay, the motion passed 7-0. Moving on to 8D, point of contact for the fire department. Mr. Bruning.
Yeah, I was going over the organizational chart the way it is right now. And instead of having Adam report to all of us, because he was supposed to do the fire commission's been dissolved, and he reports to all trustees. So instead of reporting to all of us, just have one as the point of contact. I talked to Adam about it and everything else, and he's totally fine with that. He said he doesn't have a problem doing it, so just trying to streamline the process.
Do you want to speak to the other things other than as point of contact, as far as evaluations, discipline?
Well, that's still done by Adam.
What's that?
That's still done by Adam.
Okay, so you're not wanting to take over. You're not wanting to take over doing evaluations, handling discipline, and addressing maintenance issues.
If Adam needs me to, but still,
that's what you have. So I'm just clarifying. That's what you have in your memo.
Yeah.
Is to take over that stuff. So I just want to be clear. You're not asking to take over those duties of the chief.
No, that's still Adam's job. He's going to report it to me.
Okay. Mr. Montre?
At the risk of asking a dumb question, so there's not a fire commission?
No, it was dissolved in 2015.
Okay.
There's a fire advisory board.
This is a fire advisory board.
Just the advisory board. Okay.
Which is different than a fire commission.
Okay.
So, Mr. Steiner?
Well, reading the way the memo was written, it looked to me like, Todd, that you were trying to want the responsibility of approving the fire chief's time off, giving him evaluations, handling discipline, etc. So
no,
that's exactly the way it reads.
Right. That's why I'm asking, because other than that, everybody else read it the same way I did.
No, I'm looking at it right now also. That's the way I made it sound. That's not the purpose of that.
I guess why is it put on there then? If all you want to do is be the point of contact, why is all these other things put on there?
I think it was just listing the stuff that Adam already does.
Well, gosh, doesn't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of his whole job description.
That's why we hired him. you know.
And
Yeah,
Adam's also under
That'd be
a
me
full
taking
contract.
over Adam's job, but I'm not doing that. It's just to make Adam's job easier.
Well, right now, Chief Massengill gives an amazing weekly update to the whole board that he's done consistently since we've hired him. And he lays out a plan every single week of what he's got going on to the T. And quite frankly, what's going on and what's in place right now runs extremely smoothly. And he's doing an amazing job. I don't know why we would want to put, I guess, a clog in the wheel of, interrupting what we have going on that works totally fine. The only thing I can see that currently isn't being done is evaluations for the chief, which I think this board could do on a yearly basis. I do evaluations for all my departments I oversee. So maybe, and I think as trustees, when that says trustees, as far as the fire department being under them, I think that's referring to the trustees, which we're all trustees.
Right, all 7.
Okay, it doesn't mean the 4 trustees. I think this organizational chart, quite frankly, I don't think the fire department should directly be just under the 4 trustees. I don't think that's what it means.
No, Paul, when that was drafted, it was the entire board.
It's the entire board. So my opinion, the fire department should be at the bottom and it should be pointing under all 4 of them. Because we're all oversee the fire department.
Yeah, it was like that's how it is for the trustee. So instead of reporting to all, I was just trying to make it easier for Adam.
How is it making it easier for Adam to report to one person for these things you have listed?
Because he doesn't have to go to everybody for it.
He doesn't go to everybody right now. He emails the board for what he's got going on, and then maintenance issues. Chief and I oversee all buildings and grounds. When Chief has an issues with a building, it's my job to oversee buildings and ground. He comes to me, he tells me the issue, we talk through it, and we move forward with it, or we sit on it, and we put it on the board agenda. So, I mean, as far as maintenance issues, it works perfectly fine the way it is. I mean, it's my job under the policy, so I don't know. Anybody else have any comments or questions, Mr. Montre?
Yeah, and the thing is, we talk about the chief and some of these responsibilities. Some of that is also personnel issues when it comes to evaluations, discipline, et cetera. So, I mean, that can't be divulged as well.
No. Mr. Montre?
Yeah, I'd agree with pretty much everything that was just said. The one thing that I thought was a good thought and is maybe something that we should look into, which is, I guess, kind of just referenced, is that's not a bad idea for this board of trustees to have some sort of process evaluation for chief. But beyond that, that was about the only input I had about this, which, I mean, I don't know if we need to even set a process in place for that. Was something that I thought that's not a bad idea, I guess, because you're not always going to have, you might not always have Chief Massengill, and it might be something worth putting in there like that. That's my only input really on this.
Yeah, but the other way around, though, is chief is always going to be the chief until he moves on or resigns or does whatever he's going to do. We all could be gone in 3.5 years. So you want that consistency. Ms. Hirschberger?
I just wanted to ask the chief, does he feel that he needs one person, a contact person? Because Todd said he spoke to chief, so I'd like to hear from the chief.
Sorry, good evening. Ma'am, I know that you're going to tell me copping out on this. I'm comfortable under the current system. But Mr. Bernini, I did talk, and I think a number of the board members, and so if there's one point of contact, I can see where that makes sense as well. If there was only one board member I was going to. So I don't think either model would hurt us. I think if the board feels like continuing to go in a direction where I report to everyone or to different board members, I can make that work. But Mr. Bruning's right in that if it's one point of contact for everything, then it's one path that I'm going to go through. So how's that for not answering your question, ma'am?
So if we do this, what would change? Would you still send the weekly reports to everyone?
I guess that's up to, I guess that would be up to, for lack of a better word, the liaison. I wouldn't want to circumvent or go around a liaison. So if there's a liaison appointed, I'd want to be careful not to continue to go around or give the perception I was going around that board member to the other members of the board. I'd certainly, we're big on the chain of command inside the fire department. I think the expectation should be the same. So I'd be happy to continue with the weekly updates, or if the preference is to follow the chain of command and go through one liaison. I guess I just looked for some direction on how it was going to be handled, or clarification, and frankly, clarification either way.
I would have a question of why? Why would we move to change it? And my question would be, why would we have a trustee who's not in the building Monday through Friday? We have 3 full-time people. I mean, it would make sense if we were to do something like this to have it be Krista, who actually sits on the fire advisory board and is full-time, who sees the chief every single day in office. I mean, but quite frankly, Krista, I don't see the point of you even doing it. I mean, what's happening right now works. I don't understand where the agenda item's coming from. I wish I knew a little bit more of the why for it. Mr. Steiner?
Yeah, once again, when it comes to talking about the chief and evaluations, et cetera, we all have, like I said, we also have to remember that Chief Massengale is under a contract. He's not just a regular township employee. He's under a contract as well. So if we decide to do any kind of evaluations, I think it needs to be at least 3 board members, at not just one. Honestly, I don't think that's even necessary, because you start cutting people out. Other board members might want to participate, but if we did do something like that, we should have 3, but then the other 4 should have the right, if they want to be part of it, we'd either have to have a separate meeting, or since it's really a personal type issue, chief might even request to do it in a closed session with the township board if it's for his review. I think because the way we started at the beginning, we wanted regular updates to the entire township board. There was a lot that we were missing and did not know about, and chief has delivered week in and week out. The man has been sick. The man has worked 80 plus hours at a given time during a week, and without fail, he still comes through with his weekly reports. And I think the entire time he's been with the township, I think he's lucky if there's twice that he came through and said, here's my basic report this week, there's not anything happening. He's always got something moving. There's always a moving part, and through information, through training information, through budgetary process, I can't say enough about we have gotten what we asked for from day one, and I don't think we should change it.
Hey, Mr. Montroy?
Yeah, I'm not like super against anything. I just feel like if our goal is to simplify something, we're trying to fix something that's not broken, and trying to like what Rick was saying, should we do 3 or how should we do it? I feel like complicating something, especially if our goal is to make something more simplified. I don't feel like there's any issues or anything like, well, we're having this trouble that we could point to that it's a goofy situation. I don't believe that there's anything to fix.
Okay.
So like I said, I'm not against it. It's just a weird thing that I just don't like. Yeah, I would say
let's move on in the agenda if nobody's going to make a motion, because I think
I'll make a motion.
Can I just ask one more thing quick? So as of right now, I just want a clarification. Right now, the chief reports to all of us. The weekly updates are to all of us. If he wants time off, he just sends it to all of us. So
as far as I'm concerned, I mean, every time
everything just comes to all of us.
Every time chief is taking a vacation, he comes to me individually. He doesn't send it in an email. I mean, that's something we can request from the chief is, hey, when you're going to take time off, send a whole board an email. But as far as maintenance stuff, the chief comes to me for maintenance stuff because I oversee buildings and grounds. He doesn't go to the whole board. And if we decide it's something that needs to go out for bid, yeah, we'll come to the board, get approval and move forward on it. So, Mr. Bruning, you're making a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that I'm appointed as liaison for Chief Massengill to report to.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a support? Okay, we have.
I was just gonna say, I think we need more information on what Mr. Bruning is asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at a loss of words right now, but, okay, so we have no support? Okay, so motion failed. Okay. Moving on to 8E, reinstate the requirement to obtain 3 quotes for a job, Mr. Bruning?
Yep, same thing we got in discussion last time. Instead of going single source, 3 bids for every job.
Okay, all right. Anybody have any discussion?
Three bids or 3 quotes?
3 quotes.
Okay. Does this affect the contract we have with Rawlings right now with maintenance? As far as our quarterly maintenance we have with them, with all of our buildings? Because we have a maintenance agreement in place with Rawlings right now to where they maintain our buildings. The chiller at the library, the furnaces, they go there and change the filters out. So, I mean, this would require us, we have to deal with a regular company for this. We can't just on the fly say, hey, Paul Peroni thinks it's time to change the filters at all the townships. I'm going to put it out for bid. They regularly maintain our equipment. So is this something you want to put back out for bid, or is this something you're asking to cut out? What do you mean? Because this is part of the contract.
Well, in that one, it would be probably for the jobs that we get, Paul, but I'm open for discussion on this, because at the last meeting you said, and we even talked about getting 3 bids, especially with these jobs that got bid with, especially with the Glick. Because from the library's meeting, the bid that Glick did, they pretty much bent us over on it. You guys should be getting another bid where to correct the lights that they did.
That's your opinion, because we are definitely not getting bent over. We're getting a great deal with them. I keep a very close eye on what's going on, and I would implore the whole board to do that if there's a question about it. There was a situation a few weeks ago with one of the fire departments on a bid, but that was clarified in multiple emails of the process and what had happened. You have to keep in mind, when we put this out to get away from the 3 bids, we got 2 bids. In the past 4 years, multiple times we've put out bids. We got 1 and 2, and it took months and months to get work done. Mm-hmm. Like when we do the 3 bids, I don't disagree with you, but right now you go find a contractor at $85 an hour to do that's union locally and does electric work. You go try to find that. We're getting a great deal with Glick right now because we put out a bid like that, a competitive bid. They bid at all their jobs. Right now, if we put a job out for bid, most companies are going to be at $125 an hour. So we're going to end up paying more for jobs in the end. Now, Rawlings knows all of our system, knows all of our buildings, knows exactly what we have. Are they a little more expensive? Yes, but you get what you pay for, and they're local, and they do an amazing job. I think what we have in place is working, but if the board wants to go back to 3 bids, I mean, we can. So, Ms. Hirschberger? Or actually, I'll try to stand up first. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'd follow up with that. So, like, a couple things, like in the verbiage of the memo, so like instead of automatically going with, so I would reference that what Paul just said, that we put these out for bid, and we still, like, so it wasn't like we just picked these people, let's contract with them and whatever. We bid out the contract, and we still had very, very limited applications for that, which Glick specifically was, I had it in my notes, was $40 cheaper $40 an hour cheaper than the next closest bid when we bid that out. Now, saying that, I would agree, and the whole reason we did that was ease of use, to be able to get stuff done when it needs to get done. You have an electrical job, send over who you're contracted with, get it done, instead of months and months and months. Same thing with HVAC. And I think that principle and I think that concept is the best situation. I think that's why I think it was a unanimous vote to change to go to this. But I wouldn't be opposed to, if I don't know what our contract is, if it was annual, I'd have to look that up. But every year or two, rebid that contract. I don't think that would be inappropriate. Now, you take a little bit of a gamble, because sometimes your new bid ends up being higher than your current situation. That happens from time to time when you put jobs out like that, but it's kind of a risk you have to take. But I wouldn't be against that, to do that annually or every 2 years. All right, let's put the electrical contract back out to bid, see if we can get a better deal on it, let some other companies bid on it. But I think keeping these kind of jobs as the way that we have them now, I think is good, just to get stuff done. And I would agree too. I think Glick on both of those last jobs, I could be wrong, I suppose, but I thought we got good deals from Glick on both of those jobs because of the contract.
Ms. Hirschberger?
I guess I'm just going to go back to, I know when we voted for that, we thought it would be a really good idea. At first, I was under the impression that it was for emergencies, so we, had someone we could just call on when we needed it. But we also have to remember that we do have a policy that states and requires 3 quotes. So I just want to keep that in the back of everyone's mind. There is a policy that states we have to get 3 quotes.
Yeah, but the board voted to go against that policy. So really quick. So currently right now, all the work we have in the community for maintenance on vehicles goes to Lewis Avenue Auto Body. Okay? We don't get 3 quotes. This board approved, because I negotiated a deal with them to get.
Oh, you lost your mic.
So I'm not muted, so can you guys not hear me?
I can hear you.
So I negotiated a deal with Lewis Avenue to get them down to $65 an hour plus 30% off parts. If you put every vehicle out for bid, you're not going to get that same deal. Now, we have to trust that when we bring our vehicles to Lewis Avenue, they're quoting it properly. I mean, I can't go look underneath and verify. I mean, I could send it to another place, but the other problem that comes in when you do this and you bid something out every single time, your $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 jobs, and the same company keeps getting them, the other companies say, listen, they stop bidding because they're not getting the jobs. That's happened multiple times. It's happening right now with our snowplow equipment. I call companies, they're like, stop calling me. You never give me the jobs. You never give me the work. So that eventually starts happening. But Mr. Gore?
Yeah, I wanted to agree with something that Mr. Montre said about the rebids. Wrongs is a great company, local company, and if there are maintenance on all of our stuff, there's no sense to, every time we have something go wrong, get 3 quotes or 3 bids. Maybe every couple of years, rebid that out. And maybe we should put something in there that if we do put something out for bid and we only get 1 or 2 back, then we consider those 1 or 2. We don't have to wait for months. I know we ran into an incident when I was on a situation, when I was on the school board years ago. It was a roof repair. We put it out for bid. Company from Sault Ste. Marie was the lowest bidder. And we really didn't want a company all the way from Sault Ste. Marie coming down here if we had warranty issues or stuff like that on the roof. So we wanted to keep it local as much as we can. So I do think there's some room to get 3 bids. If we don't, we don't. But something like with what we have with Rawlings, every couple of years, at least bid that out.
Well, just to echo off that, here's the benefits of having people you can trust. Okay, it's just like our roofs. TJ Roofing typically does all of our work. We know them, we trust them, they're local, they do a good job. I would like us to get into a contract for parking lots. I mean, every year What Al and I went through to get bids on these parking lots took months and months, and it's a lot of work. And then your companies, you get all over map. It would be nice to have that one company that we had last year that was low bidder by a lot, did an amazing job, evaluate our parking lots every single year and say, hey, Paul, this is what needs to be done with the parking lots this year. I bring it to the board. You guys can take what I bring you and go get another quote from another company and say, hey, Paul, your dude's about 10 grand higher from what I found. And at that point we say, hey, you know what? Let's put this out for bid. Or, hey, maybe we should stop doing this. But, I think, the more, it's like with the school has on staff, HVAC, electrical, everybody we sub out and hire out, they have on staff. I believe it's more cost effective, in my opinion, to do what we're doing. You get a low bidder like this, they're contractors, they're not, you have them when you need them. So I think what we have in place works really well. If we're not satisfied with Glick, I say we put the electrical out for a rebid. But going back to getting bids for every little job that we have here and there, it's a lot of work, and it doesn't pan out because the other company that bid on the electric was from Detroit, outside of Glick. Glick's union, they're local, and they use local aid electricians. So. Okay, well, let's move on. Does anybody have a motion to go back to the 3 quotes, or do we want to remain the same? Okay, seeing we have no motion, we're going to move on in the agenda. Okay, so 8F, approval of boards and committees appointment procedure. Mr. Steiner?
Yes, so everyone, you have a copy of the first draft, or I should say at least final from my standpoint, of a proposal for the township board's review.
Mr. Steiner, before you keep going, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure everybody has the updated version.
They should have, because I emailed that to everyone.
You're muted, Paul.
You're muted, Paul.
Everybody has it. Everybody's had time to look through it.
Mm-hmm. And we're looking at the one that got emailed, right?
The one that got emailed should be the one you're looking at.
Yeah, there was
Mr. Steiner, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a very minor change. I will tell you, there was a couple words that were added, such as statutory and state of Michigan. Other than that, there was no real changes. So what I want to do is I want to just go through the very high level. I'm not going to try to read this whole procedure. Hopefully everyone's had time to look through it, read it. And what I do want to say is going forward, if we like this format, I'm willing to help any department head. I really think this type of format is where we need to go in the future. And each procedure will have a procedure number, and then we'll have a master document that we can look through and look at for a procedure number and what is titled and how often we should review these procedures, annually, quarterly, every few years, whatever. So we can talk about that part at a later date. That's all part of record retention type issue. I do want to read, though, the purpose of the procedure is to provide a standard procedure for the Bedford Township Board of Trustees, further known as Township Board, to make general appointments and statutory appointments of citizens and current township member liaisons to various township boards and committees. The scope, the procedure primarily applies to the 7-member township board to recommend, vote, and approve appointments to various township boards and committees. I am going to drop down to point 3, which is under references. 3.11, it's the Bedford Township Bylaws document, and I'll volunteer to help the clerk's department or whomever to create a document that includes all the committees by name and their written bylaws. And then also, if there's statutory requirements, we must also identify those on the document. 3.1.2. Current boards and committee assignments. This would be the same document that's currently on the township website. We basically need to do the update with any new names by also adding any specific meeting days, meeting hours, and any basic duties, and if it's a compensated board or committee. Responsibility under 4.0, it's the responsibility of the township board to review and understand the boards and committees member appointment procedures. Next one I want to drop down to is point 6, which is the procedure itself. And the ones I want to highlight the most right now are the township supervisor or clerk shall distribute and communicate this procedure annually during the annual board and committee appointment and reappointment process. 6.2, citizens that wish to be considered for appointment are required to submit applications within the 12-month period prior to the appointment being made to a specific board or committee. 6.3, applicants shall check the box to apply for a maximum of 3 boards or committees where it is believed they will be able to best contribute and have the most positive effect for Bedford Township.
Mr. Steiner, I want to touch on your last point you brought up about application time frame. That is the one thing I would disagree on. I think, people move into this community. If somebody moves in 4 months and they're out of that time frame, or I think anybody should be able to apply for a boards and committee whenever. Quite frankly, I think, hold on.
Let me clarify, Paul. That's not what it says. It says take applications that we've received within the previous 12 months. So if they applied 3-4 weeks prior to when we need them, that's fine.
Okay, then I'm good with that. I just want to make sure, because if we get the agenda, obviously somebody applies, no, you're too late, but next meeting, if there's an opening, they could be considered. That's all I wanted to make sure.
Right, and you'll see if you go down through, you'll see where it talks about being able to be submitted 2 weeks prior to the next township board meeting.
Okay, I read that. I just wanted to clarify with you.
Yep. We'll go back there. Applicants check 3 boxes of boards or committees where it's believed they'll contribute and have the most positive effect. All sections of the board or committee application must be completed. A detailed description of personal experience, education, and/or resumes are recommended. 6.3.2, and this is where we're getting to the dates. All applications for annual appointments shall be completed and submitted to the township clerk no later than 2 weeks prior to the first township board meeting to be held in November of each year. Applications for appointments that may need to take place in mid-year due to resignations or removal from positions or any other appointments will become available shall be submitted to the township clerk no later than 2 weeks prior to the township board meeting where the appointments will be voted and approved. I'm going to skip down out of that point and I'm going to jump down to 6.6 where board and committee assignments and compensation. Under 6.612, it's recommended that an applicant's personal and business experience in the field of board or committee where they applied should
listen to your wife, you're gonna get in trouble. I didn't hear a smack though.
Or a thud.
Are you watching? So, yeah. George, I think it's back up. You want to try the volume? Okay. All right. I believe we're back, and Mr. Steiner was right in the middle of his discussion
Okay.
on the boards and committees member appointment procedure. Sorry about that. We had a little malfunction with our equipment. Hopefully someday we can get back into in-person meetings. So go ahead, Mr. Steiner.
Well, hopefully we got all the way through the procedure. Everyone was able to hear that. The actual application now states, have you ever attended a meeting of board, committee, or commission, which it's yes or no. What we've added is says if you've attended, advise which boards, committees, or commissions an approximate number of times attended in the last 12 months, and it's highly recommended. The other thing that was added to the application at the very bottom, and it coincides with the procedure, says when a board or committee member has been appointed to and required to take the oath of office, the appointed person shall schedule a time to meet with the Bedford Township Clerk's office within 10 calendar days of the township meeting where he or she was appointed. That's the very high level. Again, hopefully everyone has had a chance to read this word for word. And if we do like the format, we look at procedures going forward. If you look at items 1 for purpose, 2 for scope, 4 for responsibilities, 5 general, 7 accountability, and 8 records maintained, those things will be almost identical in every single procedure. The meat and potatoes is captured in 6.0 under procedure itself. So what I'm looking for is one of two things this evening, either to approve the procedure as written with the exception of 3.11 and 3.12 to create those documents, which we're hoping to have completed within 90 days of approval of this procedure. Or if you think it needs to have a tweak here and there, let me know what those tweaks are, and then we can go to approval the next meeting.
Well, let me ask this to the board. Does the board feel like they need another couple weeks of looking this over and emailing Mr. Steiner? Or do you want to, or is everybody prepared to move forward? Mr. Montry?
I know there was a couple things that I wanted changed. And I don't know if we want to go through that now, or do we want to?
Well, just keep in mind, it's 9 o'clock and we have public comments and we have 2 more agenda items that.
Well, that's what yeah.
So
how many points, Craig?
Well, so specifically in 6.6, so in that like random like one sheeter that we got like when we started doing these boards and appointments, that was like included in our packets, and I was very confused. I forget what meeting that was. I didn't understand because it was like that was like this section pretty much, and 6.61 being at the top, I feel like is very confusing. I feel like 6.61 should be second to last, and 6.68 should be last, and then taking out 6.6.82 because I see that that's there, like it applies to the above boards or whatever, but I feel like you would take that out and just put those 2 at the end because I just feel like it's confusing.
I would ask that we table this till the next board meeting and everybody email your changes to Mr. Steiner, give him time to make it, and then next meeting we can approve it. I don't see the need for a huge rush here. Unless somebody's prepared to make a motion.
Yeah, there's just a couple little things like that. There's just a couple little things like that that I feel like would make it cleaner. So yeah, I'd be fine with that, that I can send that kind of stuff over.
Okay. Mr. Steiner, I really appreciate it. This is well put together and it's much needed. So I'll make a motion, we table to the next meeting, and everybody in the meantime, email Mr. Steiner your suggestions and thoughts, and we'll get a solid document to approve next board meeting.
And
I'll support it.
And also, please make sure I get any of those suggestions this week. That gives me time to get them updated and get them to the clerk's department before next Tuesday.
And I would say to put everybody's name on the email so we're seeing what Mr. Steiner's putting on there. And that way there's no confusion next meeting. So, okay, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Ms. Janusik,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
The motion passed 7-0. Item 8G, discussion of noise ordinance. I've gotten a couple calls over the past month and actually didn't put this on last meeting, but wanted to definitely get it on this meeting. You know, everybody knows business owners, restaurants are struggling. This would go for ice cream shops, anybody where you go outside and you can eat outside. You know, they would fall under this ordinance. Obviously, you know, when you're at a restaurant and you're outside on a patio, it's nice to have a little bit of background music. And currently right now, they can't if you're within the 250 feet. I agree to the fact that there shouldn't be 6x9 speakers installed in every corner blaring out so the whole community can hear it, but something to where it's soft and low key enough to where the people inside are having to listen to everybody's conversations. It makes for a much better environment, and we got to do whatever we can do to help these business owners out, to help you can only have 25% in their restaurants right now. People are going to be eating inside or outside. And I think we got to do what we can do to help them out. I've asked Mr. Goldsmith to take a closer look at it so he could kind of add to it, because this is something it's not really that old of an ordinance. But things change, and right now we're in a different environment. So, Mr. Goldsmith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. One of the things you have to keep in mind, this ordinance was drafted the way it was because when you have a commercial property, a business, a restaurant that has a patio that is immediately adjacent to a residential zoning district, or we have some situations in the township where there are homes that are prior legal non-conforming structures and uses in commercial districts and that are used residentially. So I put this in the category of competing land uses. So while we need to be sensitive to our business owners and provide them with the tools that, or at least allow them to implement tools they think they need to be successful, we also have to be sensitive to the competing land use, which in this case is a residence. We have had issues before with noise being generated from outdoors from restaurants, and we've even been involved in lawsuits and successfully have concluded those on behalf of the township. But so I want to be very sensitive to both land uses, the commercial land use and the residential land use. So I think it could be done, but it's not just an issue of eliminating or lessening the 250 feet or the 200 feet that you see in the current ordinance. I almost think, and I don't want to overly complicate things, but I think that if the board wants to go in this direction, and if you're going to have an outdoor patio for dining, that it should require an amended site plan. It should take into consideration the physical characteristics of the outdoor dining area and the proximity to residential uses. and to implement certain buffering or the planting of trees and bushes or things of that nature that will have been proven in the past to be effective in terms of alleviating noise from traveling from the commercial site off that site and onto the residential area. It will be an enforcement issue, unfortunately. When you allow these types of uses, there are those who will take advantage of it. And as Paul stated, this is not meant to allow large speakers with loud amplified music and or other noise to travel off site. So I think a lot of thought needs to go into if it's going to be simply for background music, then it needs to be specific. And each site, I think, needs to be measured. Each site needs to be evaluated in terms of if somebody wants to use if you're going to go in that direction and wants to use background music, each site should be evaluated so that the impact to a residentially used or zoned home can be evaluated and taken into consideration. You should never lose sight of the fact that there are always or most often competing land use issues, and you have to take both into consideration. So I don't want to belabor the fact, but the board needs to let us know in your planning department whether you want to pursue this for the benefit of restaurants who desire to have outdoor dining facilities, patios, and the like.
And is everybody clear with what I'm looking for here? It's just background music. It's just something soft. It's not. Part of the problem came was when you had a volleyball court in the back, and you had houses right there, and there's loud speakers, and it's people. That's where the issues come. The issues don't come when you have just something soft and you're being, you know what I mean? It's and you put a time frame to it to where it's not going to 2 a.m. People are partying. I mean, a restaurant like a Quimby's, say, isn't going to have 75 people on their patio till 2 a.m. jamming away to music. You know what I mean? The music would stop at a certain time. Mr. Gore?
Well, I understand completely what you're saying, background music and whatnot, but Mr. Goldsmith hit the nail on the head when he said there's going to be some people who are going to take advantage of this, no question about it. You'll have live bands. I was on the receiving end on many of those calls, working afternoons and a split shift in midnights, going there because we have restaurants. A lot of restaurants in this community are next door to neighborhoods. And I won't name a name in particular, but we were at one place multiple times because a neighbor continually called because of all the noise with bands and things like that. So, Mr. Goldsmith, I'm not against revamping the ordinance, but we got to put a lot of thought into it and make sure all of our I's are dotted, T's are crossed.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, as far as ordinance complaints, I think the ordinance department could still handle it. Somebody calls the township, and Monday we go out there, we talk to the restaurant who's in violation. They had a ban, totally goes against what we're putting in place here. I think there should be something in place to where it could be stripped from them, but I think the board at least should look at it and give it a chance, because I think with what's being asked here isn't going to be an issue. Ms. Hirschberger? You're muted.
Phil, currently they can't have background music?
No, it's measured in terms of because background music is actually amplified. Even if you had for instance, composed.
Hold on one second, Mr. Gore. Can you mute yourself, please? I think we're getting a lot of background from.
So, to continue, Trudy, I don't think the ordinance as written even allows background music because it has linear feet limitations, and a radio. I construe a radio as an amplifying device. A radio can be played softly or it can be played rather loud. It depends on the radio, of course, or the CD player. I'm showing my age. What do they call them now? DVDs or whatever that they use. But so currently no, because it's measured strictly in feet, linear feet.
Okay, and this is something we would have to change the whole ordinance. We couldn't do a special use or something.
Or you could. Actually, this ordinance allows for special events, I think no more than 4 per year. But I think what's being asked for by some of the restaurant owners is to be allowed to use it for the entire season that their outdoor dining is provided, or patio is provided.
That's what they're asking. I mean, their outdoor patios are used sometimes 7 days a week. And when it's warm, weather permitting. So yeah, that's what would be asked.
We wouldn't rewrite the entire ordinance. We would amend the ordinance, and we would we would drill down on what could be done, when it could be done, how it could be done, under what circumstances, site plan review, and each property would have to be reviewed and basically approved based on its unique characteristics, including the characteristics of the surrounding properties.
Okay, I don't want to get into the same issue we had before when we were having the neighbors come in and complaining every single day, and then we get into a lawsuit.
Oh, and I agree with that. The issue that happened before, and I know who Joe is talking about, it was a bad situation, and it ended up with us having to go to court to rectify the problem, because it was one of those deals where they just did it without approval. We told them no, they did it anyhow. We had to go to court, and we won. I don't want to. That's time consuming and expensive for the township. And
well, I think. Oh, sorry, Mr. Goldsmith.
I just don't want to get into that, and we just have to be careful how we implement it. And then if there's violations, that's a whole other issue. We would be back in court on a violation.
Well, I think if drafted properly, we could put certain things in place that protect us and the residents. That's why I said I think at least what needs to happen tonight is the board to direct Mr. Goldsmith and his legal firm to move forward on drafting something new. I don't think this has to go to planning. This is just a board decision. Correct?
Well, it doesn't have to go to planning, but whenever I draft an ordinance.
I'm saying planning commission, not planning. Yes, you want to communicate with planning department. I'm saying this doesn't go before the planning commission for approval.
This is when you're amending a zoning ordinance, then it would have to go to planning commission for recommendation to the township board to adopt the ordinance. So this is a noise ordinance. It's outside of the planning commission. So this would come back to the board. You're right.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to go through a bunch of hoops, so.
Right.
So I'll make a motion that we move forward on allowing Leonard Graham and Goldsmith to draft some new language for this board to take a look at and work in conjunction with the planning department, Karen and Jody. My motion.
I'll support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Gore. Discussion. And I would just say under discussion, if we don't like what we see and we can't come to a consensus on our agreement on what's drafted, we move forward. We don't do anything. I mean, at least we give it a good effort. So, Mr. Steiner.
Yeah, and Mr. Goldsmith, I know you'll do it, but I mean, we need to have, as you point out, very specific on those details and distances, decibel levels, et cetera. But I think, as we heard earlier this evening, one of our most difficult issues is going to be the ordinance side of it, and the enforcement.
Well, it depends if it's put on the agenda to get rid of the ordinance department. I heard that tonight, so maybe it'll be the sheriff's department. So, who knows what's gonna happen here?
That's all.
Okay, all right, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Yes.
Ms. Jandisek,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
Okay, the motion passed 7-0. And Phil, if you just want to, like I said, work with Karen and Jody, I think it'll move quickly. Okay, 8H, discussion on improved communication with residents concerning public hearing notices and supporting documents for BZA and Planning Commission meetings. Mr. Montroy?
Yeah, so this is something that actually Gene Stock had sent out to our entire board, and then I followed up with him again, and then called in and just was persistent with it. And frankly, I agree with him on all points, and I don't feel like it's that much extra. And like I said, I just agree that as we when you have an involved citizenry, which is good, we should be able to support them and allow people to be able to follow along. I remember before I was elected to this board, there's different things that would be discussed at township meetings that it was hard for me to understand. And I believe that, especially when you look back at our organizational chart, the top of that organizational chart above everyone and every one of us is the citizens and residents of Bedford. And I think that they should be allowed to be as informed as possible. And that I feel like these are little, like, kind of, I don't know how you would word it. Just they're little simple add-ons that can make a big difference for citizens to be able to be involved. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments or anything like that.
I would say to start, social media was brought up by a couple residents. Obviously, myself and Al are admins on the Government Center page, but I think at a minimum, the clerk and the treasurer should be admins as well. And when you have information that you could put out on taxes or whatever, any information, you guys as admins should put it out there. Just like Tuesday, a lot of people didn't realize taxes were due today, not Monday. I'm getting text from the community and messages sent. That would be something that could be put on Facebook. Yeah, I know it's on the website, but a lot of people don't go to our website. I think with Trudy working on the website right now with a company to build a new website, this is something that should be corrugated with the Facebook page. I mean, this is what people are using, like Mr. Stock said, for their information. Most people aren't getting their information from the newspapers and from websites. They're getting it from social media. So I think at a minimum, there should be more admins to the page. Some of the documents that is posted every week, there's no reason. Job applications, job openings, I mean, all these things, that goes through the clerk's department could be posted on Facebook at a minimum and the website. But I think, with the clerk's department overseeing communications, this is something that the communications committee should probably discuss, at a minimum. Ms. Janizek?
So you want Trudy and I to be admins, and I'm fine with it, but why is it just being brought up now about having us become admins? This page was created several years ago, and I know it was created by the prior supervisor in their department. I don't have any problems posting to the Facebook page, but I have never had access to it. You and Mr. Pryor have. It's something, this has been just thrown at me at this meeting. So I understand where you're coming from, but it would have been nice for you to come to Trudy or myself and say, would you guys like to be admins? Instead of just bringing it to us today with this coming about.
Yeah, well, I think we all could say that about a lot of agenda items, but I didn't know. I really didn't think about you guys being admins until this item was added on the agenda. Otherwise, I mean, to be quite honest with you, if you wanted to get the information out to the community on Facebook, at a minimum, I would have said, hey, bring the information to us or I have no problem. I think the whole board should be admins. To be quite honest with you, I think it'd be a little much.
Unfortunately, I really don't have a whole lot of time with my job, with collecting taxes, to sit and post to Facebook all day. I'm sorry.
No, that's not what's being asked of you. Settle down. So all that's being asked is that if you have taxes, something, it's not, hey, sitting there all day posting on social media. So I think you're taking it a little wrong. So Ms. Hirschberger, you don't have to agree to it.
I don't think you want me as an admin on a Facebook page.
No, absolutely not. Ms. Hirschberger?
I like the way it's working now, where if I have something, I send it to Al, Al puts it on Facebook. I would like to keep it that way. I have enough going on posting to the website. I don't want to be responsible for posting on Facebook too. So I'd like to keep it the same. Just send stuff to yourself and Al and just get it put on Facebook.
It was just a suggestion. It wasn't.
I understand. I'm just saying.
I mean, Chris, you seem upset, but it was just a suggestion. It's a tool to get the information out to the community. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. I use it for a tool. So
I'm just saying, that's how we've been doing it. We send it to Al, Al posts it on Facebook, and
yeah,
I'm good
with that. Or that could be put on the Facebook page is what Mr. Stock's saying. And we don't get those things. I mean, yes, when we're selling a vehicle and you have a description put together, you send it to Al, we put it on. There's certain things, but there's so much more that can be put on that page. But you know what I mean? And that's where you guys would come in handy as admin saying, hey, throw this on there.
Well, they could just send it to you or Al and say, throw this on there. I mean, I'm good with that. We can put more on Facebook. We'll just send it to you and Al and have it put on.
I agree with Trudy.
I guess the only other thing, if we're going to keep moving on this, when we go down to the newspapers, just so you know, Craig, that the law states that we have to put it in the daily newsprint. So that's why we can't use Bedford Press. Bedford Press could be an additional, but we would have to pay that extra money to post it there. And I see Phil nodding his head.
Well, I think a lot of residents don't get
daily publication.
I think a lot of residents don't get that though. That's the issue. So the Bedford Press would be an added on, but it's something they all get.
Locally. But that would be extra money too.
Yeah, I think that was understood, that all of these things are extra things that are serving the residents for, I mean, it's like the old joke, the best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of a Google search. If nobody's looking there, you're not helping anybody. Same thing with like our website. People aren't looking at our website. We're not people are on Facebook. You throw your information out there. Same thing with like the Bedford Press. Yeah, I understand it's an added thing, and that's kind of the point, is we're getting the information out there to our residents. I don't know if do we know we'd have to look into what the cost would be to do Bedford Press. The Facebook on the website doesn't cost us anything.
No, that doesn't cost us anything. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Drew.
I was just going to say, Bedford Press, you're probably looking, and I'm just basing this on minutes, another $100 per ad I put in.
So something that was brought up was the planning commission stuff. Has there been any thought, Trudy, to the planning commission starting their own Facebook page, kind of like the ordinance did? I mean, our ordinance page that we started 2.5 years ago has been well received. The community loves it. It gets a lot of activity. Just a thought.
No, they haven't. And there are some issues that they can't put out there. I know Phil could probably touch on that a little more than what I can.
Well, that's just like in the assessing department. There's projects that come in and there's land stuff that comes in that's gotta be kept between the assessor and that person.
Right.
So, yeah.
Unfortunately, with planning and BZA, most of it is like that until it comes to the board.
Do we have opposition? Do we have opposition to adding the supporting documents for planning commission and the zoning board of appeals? Do we is that an issue to add those things?
I think Phil could touch on that. That's what I was trying to explain. Some of it we can't.
Some of it we're not allowed to because of confidential information that can't be disclosed until such time as it comes before the full board, if it comes before the full board. So there'd be a lot of redaction going on if we did that, and not that we're not trying to hide anything, but somebody submitted a FOIA request for some of that data. A lot of that, as Trudy knows, and this is what she's alluding to, has to be redacted. So but somebody couldn't just scan it, put it on. Somebody would have to take the time and actually redact information that's not considered to be public information before it could be posted.
Well, Trudy oversees the finance department. That's something that could be, people are always asking about finances. That's something that could be put up there, within reason, but we've talked about it a couple of times now. Yes, we all know we can't put certain things on, Facebook, but, we're talking like main drawings. So people have an idea of kind of what's going on when planning or BZA is discussing something such as a sign. Simpler things. Yeah, we're not talking about somebody's project that they're bringing that they're having beginning discussions with. At the end of the day, we're trying to get more information out to the residents, okay? Because we see it on Facebook on a regular basis. People want to know things, and they're not seeing the stuff we're putting out there. Okay, I see it on a regular basis. Well, why don't we know? Okay, so the more information we get out there, and it can't just be the supervisor's department. Other departments are going to have to step up and do more as well. Because let's be honest, I'm not getting all the documents that go on the board or go on the website. And that's why I made the suggestion of more admins. I have no problem giving up Facebook. I could care less. But it's a great tool, and people are asking for it. Same thing, like I said, with the finance department. There's no reason that more information could be put out for the public to see with finances. So you're muted.
Are we able to post the notices to the township site as well as the newspaper for the public hearings?
I do publish. I put the stuff on the website. And then Planning Commission put their own on the website. So I'm not sure what you're requesting there.
Yeah, all those public notices are posted. So to give public the opportunity to attend the public hearings, like in front of the BZA, in front of the Planning Commission.
And that stuff's all on our website?
Yes. Yeah, Trudy does all that. Or Karen in the planning department.
Right, correct.
And there's also mailing compliance too with residents within a certain footage of whatever the project is too.
Yep, 300 feet.
Yeah, the 300 feet thing's great, but you got people that are, 400 feet and they could see it on Facebook or they could see it somewhere else, We have lots of tools to get information out to the public without sitting on a computer all day playing on Facebook. We have a lot of tools to be able to get information out there. So there's no reason, in my opinion, why we shouldn't be doing it. So, okay, so Mr. Montroy, do you have a motion you'd like to make, or do you want to move on? It's 9:37 and we're not getting too much activity here.
Yeah, I suppose it'll have to be something I'll have to bring back to be able to put as a motion. I'll have to look into what the cost would be for the Bedford Press, and then, I don't know.
That's probably something Trudy could.
Organize something more for being able to put the supporting documents for those other two boards and figure out, like, have something a little bit more organized possibly. I didn't think that there was going to be, I thought that was a simple enough thing.
How about a one pager, and if you could bullet point it with each item you're talking about posting?
Okay, all right, so moving on in the agenda, we are at public comment. Comments limited to 2 minutes for each individual. I think we have some callers already calling in. Okay, perfect. Good evening. Go ahead with your comment. It's 2 minutes, so state your name and address.
Hi, Lamar Frederick, 3254 Deer Creek Drive. I'm back again. With respect to putting stuff on the Facebook page, there are 4 or 5 Facebook pages running around here that are alleged to be, quote, the official Facebook page. Yet when you start going down through the page, the next thing you see, here comes a political ad. Here comes a political picture. So whatever you're doing in terms of putting on the Facebook, then it should be an official Facebook page and no political baloney right in the middle of it. I would remind the board that the Planning Commission is not a construction group. They are principally land use, land appropriation decisions, zoning, and in terms of some situations, they can have input into a PUD. But they do not construct buildings. They don't construct subdivisions. They are land use, planning, and zoning people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Okay, next caller. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, Josh Stump, 7136 Wiltshire Drive. The communication part that you guys are talking about in websites and Facebook and social media and all that stuff, I think you guys should all agree that transparency and communication to the community is, number one priority. And I think you guys do have a lot of tools that we need to take advantage of. I'd be curious to see, how many clicks you guys get on your website each month compared to the Facebook page and other outlets. So figure out a way to get as much communication information out to the community. I think that will benefit all of us. Shouldn't be too difficult. Put your heads together, figure it out. And again, transparency and communication, great for the community. And there's a lot of tools out there. We just need to take advantage of them. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
Hi, Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. Real quick, I don't have a Facebook account, and I do go to the computer to check things. I also believe that people need to take some responsibility in getting their own information. That's the only way you're going to get the facts. We had the so-called township Facebook page was blocking people during the elections, selecting who got to post and who didn't get to post. There can't be any politics. And Trudy and Krista do not have the time. They've had their staff stripped. They've been there all summer working their butts off, not on a phone. They don't have their deputies posting every day, reposting and posting to this and posting to that. The other thing regarding planning, they need experience. They need someone who has experience in land use. This has nothing to do with being a contractor. It has to do with actually how to plan and what the laws are for the usage of properties. And the statement, this is new, this is a good thing, and it's overdue. It's good to see that we have a board taking an interest in the decision-making of our township. That's a democracy. So that's been overdue, and so I'm thankful for the board members for sticking their necks out and making an attempt to change things to the better. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Good evening. Go ahead and state your name and address and go ahead with your comment.
Amy South, 390 West Vienna Road. Full disclosure before I start, I was one of the 2 ordinance officers that was let go on the 19th when the board voted against giving back the original ordinance department budget. That being said, I'm beyond disappointed in our township board. It appears that personal vendettas are influencing votes instead of voting what is best for the people in Bedford Township. These meetings are an embarrassment to our community, but would probably be popular at the junior high. Nothing is going to be accomplished, and the community is going to suffer because it's more important to vote against so-and-so because they made you mad this week. When I heard that Officer Cecil had to go in front of the board, I honestly wasn't worried. The township did not lose any revenue, so it wasn't a big deal. I thought for sure we'd get it back and move forward. Unfortunately, only Mr. Peroni and Mr. Gore had the town's best interest in mind when voting. The rest were too worried that the other departments would feel they were entitled to their original budget as well. No one asked for more money, just what was originally planned. So now we put additional stress on a fire department that definitely has enough drama going on and fire 2 people. Well, where's the $1 million that you received since no one is getting their budgets back? I'm not asking what you are anticipating for next year, especially since what you anticipated for this year was widely inaccurate. I just want to know why you wouldn't give back money that was originally allocated in department budgets. And Todd, if you like the smell of burning leaves so much, buy a candle. Karen is still going to call about your illegal burn. Only this time the fire department's showing up instead of an ordinance officer. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Any more callers, George? Okay, all right. Moving on to comments from township board members. Mr. Bruning?
Yeah, everybody have a good night. I know we busted the road commission's balls, but I gotta say, last night I was out plowing. Their trucks were all over the place. Those guys were doing a good job. And then to Amy, I'm zoned agricultural, so I can burn whenever I want. I don't need candles. Have a good night, everybody.
Well, technically, you can't burn whenever you want, but you have to have a permit outside of burning season. Mr. Montry? Just to clarify that, I don't want the community thinking otherwise. So, Mr. Montry?
Yeah, a couple things. First, yeah, this board needs to schedule our budget meetings sooner than later. There was a comment about the plowing. There's a question about plowing, and I don't know if you were going to address that, Paul, but I would just say, like, I live on a little side street neighborhood, and I ended up getting hit, I think like 6 o'clock probably tonight, and which I was blown away with, honestly, but I'm sure I was one of the last ones. But it's like somebody has to be last, and lower traffic roads are going to be last, and Wiseman is not a high traffic road. So I don't know. I wouldn't take that personally and just assume that you'll get hit. And I would say wasn't too many years ago that streets like that weren't going to get hit for a week, let alone in that same day. The other thing I would address is the Facebook page comments. I didn't think that needed clarified, so I apologize, but I thought I was definitely referencing the official government Facebook page is what we would post to. And then I would reference the library. So the next job the library is going to be working on is going to be, they're working on carpeting and some restructuring inside of that. My opinion and situation there, and I think I've made that clear to the library advisory board. Don't think I'll ever support the money that they want to spend on the carpeting in that job, especially until we had the chiller situation fixed over there. I feel like that's a prioritized situation. So I don't know if we'll get direction I'll bring something back to this board to take direction on that or not, but I did want to put that piece in. Besides that, guys, everybody have a good night.
Okay, Mr. Gore.
Caught myself unmuted. Just everybody have a good night. Stay warm. please check on your neighbors, especially if you have elderly neighbors, help them out, especially in this time of year with the weather that we're having. And Trudy, I do believe the last meeting you did mention that today was the last day for taxes since Monday was a holiday, if I'm correct. Or Krista did. Okay, I thought somebody did. So the information is getting out there. We could do better with it, but from my time on the school board, no matter what we did, committee of the whole meetings, we had several town hall meetings. We had meetings to have meetings, and it still wasn't enough. Craig, I'd like to see more proposal on that. I'm looking forward to it. So thanks, everyone.
Mr. Steiner?
Boy, Joe hit a very good point there. I know for many years, the township updates used to have the breakdown of all the taxes and how the money comes and goes and how much money the township gets back, so much per dollar that we send, how many cents do we actually get back per dollar. And it would be in there time and time and time again. And many people would still call and say, well, I send you, $2,500 a year in my property taxes. How are you spending all that $2,500? People don't understand. And I don't know if they don't care, if they just don't try to understand it. It can be explained a million different ways, and some people still don't fully understand what you're providing to them. I think sometimes when we talk about it at these meetings, it makes more sense than just being in black and white. So we have to break it out, I think, in these meetings to really help out. As for some of the updates and the postings and what's published, I, for one, am not a huge fan of posting a lot of the excess on Facebook. As we know, there's a lot of times you could do a search for Bedford Township and you might get more than just Bedford Township. I'm not a huge Facebooker myself. And I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months ago, I looked something up and I was actually getting information from Scotland when I looked at it. So I don't know. I know you say an official township page, but if we do have an official page, it has to be strictly information based, and we can't have personal postings or anything like that. Strictly information, because, and again, and that's the other problem. If you have way too many admins, you've got way too many voices with differences of opinion, and we got to be really careful there too. Other than that, everybody stay safe. We got more snow supposedly coming in Thursday night. So
how much? How much snow?
I don't know. It was really coming out of
5 inches. Don't tell me it's over 5 inches.
I have not heard.
Okay, Ms. Janczak.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, taxes were due today. I did say the last board meeting that with it being the weekend and the holiday, it would be today. But when I checked last Friday, we were at about 80% collected. So we're probably closer to, 85, 90. And that doesn't include the mail that's still out there. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to say. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, stay warm.
Ms. Hirschberger?
I don't know if the board is aware, but about a month ago, we talked about a window that was broken in my department. It was actually shot, and we did go and get the insurance on that, so it will be covered at 100%. As far as the police vehicle that was in the accident, our insurance will cover it, but not 100%, so there will be some out-of-pocket costs for the township. And then the social media, we spoke about a policy a while back, so Phil and I are going to get together and start working on that policy again, because there are a lot of things that should not be posted, should be posted, how long we retain, and things like that. And I know Craig and Paul were on the board when we made that motion, that comments were going to be turned off, but that wasn't possible. So we just got to get something in place for comments made to that Facebook page and how we handle things for FOIA.
Well, I would like to be involved with you and Phil with that, since I'm going to be the only admin other than Al, so.
And then just one more thing is that we are sending out applications for the next election. They should go out next week. The ballot proposal is the Monroe County ISD Technology Millage, and also the Monroe County Museum Millage will be on that ballot in May.
Okay, thank you. Board members, just because residents call in, particularly the same couple residents call in every week about something, it doesn't mean it's true, okay? We don't post political posts on our Facebook page, never have. Our official government Facebook page, which we have. We don't block people from it. We don't delete comments. So just because people call in and say these things are happening doesn't mean they're true. There are multiple pages that say Bedford Township, Bedford. That's not against the law. It doesn't mean it's official page. Just because people think it doesn't mean it is. Now, people cannot use our logo. That's against the law. That's against our, what is that, a policy, Phil, or is it a law?
Well, policy and law.
So, I mean, so when that happens, for instance, I think on one site we called them and they removed it. They changed it. So I just want to say, you know, I don't respond to everything that's said at the meeting. So I want to say I can appreciate Mr. Jenkins' recommendation. However, I am kind of surprised that with all these great applications you guys spoke of earlier, why are we only getting one brought up? Why aren't we getting multiple brought up? Personally, I'm trying to really stick with new faces. And, you know, I know Mr. Keene technically wasn't a new face because he put on the CIP, but he's new to the planning. We have a lot of people wanting to serve on planning, a lot of educated people. We have a lot of resources with the CIP. We don't have to be stuck on one person because he's done a CIP. We have a lot of, if we want to reinstate the CIP, or not reinstate it, but add members to it, you could add him to that if he's that great with CIPs. I mean, I think maybe that is where we need to go, is start adding members back to the CIP. I want to give shout outs to our maintenance department. They had a funeral today. So they had to dig a funeral. So we had to, both of them had to go over there after lunch at 1 o'clock and dig a funeral. And we still got everything knocked out, even though we lost 2 guys to go dig a funeral or dig a grave. I want to give a shout out to TJ Plock, our seasonal guy that came in at 4 in the morning and worked till 4 in the afternoon. And James Cuckendale, he did the same. And then Ryan Mack came in the afternoon after he worked, or not after he worked, but after noon, and he worked till 6 or 7 o'clock. Stone Co. Worked on the Lambertville side. So basically what we have is we have Stone Co. They have 3 trucks. They do everything west of Jackman, and then everything east of the maintenance and the seasonal people do. They did a great job. If your roads got missed, it might be because you live on a private road. Now, Wiseman, I'm going to have to take a look at, but if you did totally get missed, which I'm surprised because our guys check off every road they go on of the list that we're approved to go on. We're not allowed to go on private roads. It's like plowing a driveway. So if you does get missed, give me a call tomorrow and I'll send maintenance over there and they'll hit it. But to be quite honest with you, the road commission will be hitting probably maybe later on tomorrow or the next day. So anything that's missed or needs touched up, they're going to be through salting and hitting again. Road commission is doing an amazing job. Once they got rid of that MDOT contract, we went from 1 truck in a storm to 4. So it's a big difference, getting that many trucks. And then when we have 7 trucks in the neighborhoods on top of it, we have 11 trucks rolling in Bedford Township. Amazing service. And this snow episode cost us probably around $3,000 out of Bedford Township general fund. So for me, the safety, people being able to get out and go to work. I had so many calls today. I can't even begin to tell you, in emails and text messages about, hey, so-and-so had to get out for dialysis. We've got, you name it, there's 37,000 people who live in this community. They all have jobs to go to. They were all extremely thankful. They got started at 4 in the morning and most of them were able to get out, even if it was 2 passes in the neighborhood. I'm excited about the library opening back up, especially for my kids. They need to get the heck out of the house and get back to the library. They were regular attenders over there. Trudy, are you gonna be working with Bob on dates for the budget meetings? Because I talked to Bob last week or a couple weeks ago about putting dates together. Is that something you want me to do, or do you want to make the decisions as a board of dates and times? Because they're gonna have to be done with George via virtually. We need to at least start setting dates.
I will get with Bob and we'll get some dates sent out to the board to see if everyone can make them. Is there a time?
Well, it's always been 6 o'clock because Mr. Steiner had to drive to work. Is there a time that's better for you, Mr. Steiner, now? You're kind of the Lone Ranger with meetings.
Well, I'm okay at least through April 15th, as far as I know.
As far as like not meeting after 5 or meeting before
No.
5?
It would still have to be closer to 6 o'clock. I mean, just like tonight, I mean, I was right up to this meeting almost.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go, Trudy. I mean, we're going to have to oblige everybody. So if you and Bob want to get with me or whatever, you guys want to come up with the dates, I don't care, but we need to get something rolling, that way we have stuff in place when the audit's done. And I agree with you, Mr. Gore. We only have 2 minutes left, but gosh, check on your neighbors. There's so many, that is enough snow where people can literally knock it out of their driveways. If you know of a senior, absolutely, that's a great idea. Knock on their door. We do still have our Save Our Senior program in place. I'm not sure if we still have active people working on it, but call the ordinance department if somebody is in need and see what they could put together for you. But other than that, I thank you for a good meeting, and everybody have a safe week, and God bless you all.
You also
I make a motion to adjourn. Does anybody have a support?
support.
I wasn't going to get away with that one. So we are adjourned.
See you later, guys. Have a good